77% of pupils in school say they had experienced sexual abuse, while 82%, this is primary school, and 82% of students in secondary school also have experienced similar fate. Violence against children damages children's hopes and aspirations. Such violations can lead to absenteeism, poor academic performance, and increased dropout rates.
Jolly Nyeko akulira ekitongole ki Action for Children agamba nti okutongoza essimu eno kirooto ekituukiriziddwa.
All I had was a few coins to put an advert in the newspaper. All I had is to start with 1 staff, 2 staff, an organization, and now today it is a national child helpline.
Enkola eno Jolly Nyeko agiwadde eri gavumenti eyamba abaana eddembe lyabwe eririnnyirirwa. Minisita w'ekikula ky'abantu agezesezza enkola eno.
How do I report a case of child abuse? Thank you.
Poliisi erira yawandiika emisango egisoba mu 9 egikwatagana n'okutulugunya abaana mu mwaka gwa 2013. Enkola eno esuubirwa okukozesebwa wonna mu ggwanga okuyamba okwanganga okutulugunya abaana.
NTV akawungeza dakika ziweze 14 eziyise ku ssaawa emu. Ku ggulire eryo erikwata ku ddembe ly'abaana olwaleero twagala weetabe naffe obeeko ensonga naawe zoowa nga tubuuza nedda. Tukole ekiri ku screens kye tulina okuba nakyo naye nga tubuuza nti tukole tutya okwongera okutumbula eddembe ly'abaana mu Uganda. Tukole tutya okwongera okutumbula eddembe ly'abaana mu Uganda. Osobola okugenda ku Facebook ekituufu kyekyo. Tukole tutya okwongera okutumbula eddembe ly'abaana mu Uganda. Osobola okugenda ku Facebook, osobola okukozesa Twitter, ebimu ku birowoozo bye munawanja kusobola okubisoma mu mawulire gano. Tugenda mu kitundu kya kubiri naye kankubuulira ebimu ku bye tulina mu kitundu ekyo. Meya w'e Nakawa Ben Kalumba asuulidde abakesisi emmotoka gye baamuwa. Omutuuze w'e Nakasozi ku lw'e Masaka akukulumidde poliisi agirumiriza okumukuba amasasi n'etamuyamba.
Having broken the hunger story in Napak, we appeal to the general public to contribute towards the Feed Napak initiative. Kindly donate items like clothes, food, shoes and other items to support our vulnerable brothers and sisters in Napak district, Karamoja. Kindly bring your donated items to the Uganda National Theatre from the 2nd to 30th June 2014 or send your mobile money contribution to Winnie Banage on MTN 0772 12 1986. For more information, call Diana on 0791 162357. We can do great things with great love.
NTV akawungeza dakika ziweze 20 eziyise ku ssaawa emu. Ndese mbuuziza wali nti tukole tutya okwongera okulaba nga eddembe ly'abaana lyongera okweyongera okutumbuka. Kansomeyo abantu batonotono wano. Kyambadde buli muzadde yandibadde akuza abaana be kubanga okunoonyeza kulaga nti ba step mother be basinga okubonyabonya abaana. Be bayita bamaama abato kale. John baliko wamu basomesa eddiini okuva mu nnyumba. Precious birungi tuongeze ku bibonerezo ebiweebwa abo ndooza batyobola eddembe ly'abaana kyo badde oyagala okuwandiika. Nteebereza Elijah Waswa gavumenti ebawe ministry yeetongodde eyo weeri Elijah Hussein tudde Sentamu poliisi yanditaddewo toll free line eyo bagitaddewo tugirabye erira mu lunaku olwo bwe badde bakuza olunaku lw'omwana wa Africa. Kanjira Nsembeyo Harriet kumanyisa abantu teeka erikwata ku baana n'okulissa mu nkola nga limenyeddwa. Kale Kachisalita start with respecting children's decisions that can help. Tuyanziza nnyo nja kubambiddira edda. Mu mawulire amalala ge tulina olwaleero, KCCA tubidde n'emmotoka eya Meeya w'Enakawa Ben Kalumba. Mmotoka eno omukulu agireese ng'agamba ssente ezigiddaabiriza ye taziina. Mmotoka eno yaliko mu kabenje emabega kaawo. Katwongere okunnyonnyoka lwaki omukulu agibaddiza.
Eno emmotoka ya Meeya w'Enakawa Kalumba entongole olwaleero evugiddwa n'etwalibwa ku kitebe kya KCCA ng'agamba nti KCCA erina okusooka ogiddaabiriza. Emmotoka eno agireese amataala agamu tegaliiko ssaako ne namba puleeti nga teziriiko. Kigambibwa nti emmotoka eno yafuna akabenje sabbiiti ewedde era nga ye yali avuga so si driver we. KCCA egamba nti kino kimenya mateeka era nga kiraga butali buvunaanyizibwa eri abakulembeze.
Police report egamba nti yali avuga emmotoka eno Meeya w'Enakawa Mwami Kalumba yali mbukyamu. Ya report gye tufunye okuva police report nti yali akoze third lane. Kati emmotoka yali emabega n'emutomera. Naye kye tuba tugezako okugamba kiri nti zino emmotoka za gavumenti tugezeeko okulaba nti tuzirabirira kubanga zino ssente za musolo tosobola kuleeta mmotoka ng'eriwo ekyo paka kati tunakufuna report yonna kiki ekyabaawo okujjako police report.
Kyokka ye Meeya agamba nti buno buvunaanyizibwa bwa KCCA okuddaabiriza emmotoka era ng'agibasuulidde kubanga badde tebafaayo.
Be balina okumpa ssente okukola emmotoka. Ekisooka bagijjeko namba plate singa terina mipiira. IOV twakola dda batuwa emipiira tebaatuwa mipiira. Emmotoka sinkole service terina mipiira. The fact is yafuna accident nga tuli ku kukyala kwa Katikkiro wano ku Spear Motors. Bwe kirina okuba ate emmotoka nze njikola yange n'emipiira gyagwako dda nze njigula. Be balina ssente zaffe zonna. Bajeti yonna bagitwala ku KCCA. Buli kamu ne kapeeyi byonna tubisaba ku KCCA.
Meeya n'agamba nti bo ng'aba division tebalina nsimbi nga n'olwekyo abakulu ku City Hall balina okutuukiriza obuvunaanyizibwa bwabwe. Ivan Kimuli Kigozi, NTV Akawungezi.
NTV Akawungezi. Nakasozi okumpi ne Buddo mu ggombolola y'ensangi ku luguudo oludde Masaka. Eri omusajja agamba nti poliisi yamukuba essasi mu butanwa wabula n'etafaayo kumuwa wadde siringi emu y'ejjanjabi. Sulaiman Sekayingo agamba nti okuva lwe yakuba essasi mu mwezi ogwokuna omwaka guno poliisi temulambulangako nga kati atuuse n'okutunda amasaati ge asobole okugula eddagala erimujjanjaba.
Mu kavuvuŋŋano kano akaaliwo e Nakasozi nga 23 omwezi ogwokuna omwaka guno, Sulaiman Sekayingo ow'emyaka 53 agamba nti mwe bamukubira essasi mu kisambi poliisi n'emuteeka ku kabangali yaayo n'emugirako ekyengera ng'egamba nti mu mmotoka yaayo temwali mafuta agatuuka mu ddwaliro e Mulago.
Bwe twatuuka mu kkubo driver n'agamba nti sirina mafuta tugende ku poliisi. Bwe twagenda ku poliisi ekyengera DPC yagamba nga n'abaliwo abasirikale nga bagamba nti ono buleti yemukutte. Kati DPC n'agamba nti bamuteeke wano ye talina ki talina ssente ziteeka mafuta mu mmotoka.
Sekayingo agamba nti yalinnya bodaboda n'agenda mu ddwaliro e Mulago gye baamulongoosa ne bamuggyamu kye baamutegeeza nti lyali ssasi wabula ne batamuwa kitanda.
N'enkomawo e Mulago dokita n'annongoosaamu essasi lyasirikira muli bw'amala okulinzijjamu n'antunga n'aŋŋamba okomangawo nga wayise ewiiki emu okuggyamu ewuzi.
Okuva olwo Sekayingo agamba nti ennaku gy'alabye eyoza lumonde awatali kufuna yadde okusaasira okuva mu poliisi gy'alumiriza okumutuusaako obuvune.
Okuva olwo e Mulago sigendaga ŋŋenda malwaliro kyengera olw'ensonga y'ensimbi nga sirina abaana boolaba abo ampaddeyo 10 nensobola okulya ekyemisana bwe basondayo ez'eddwaliro ne mpezaawo omutwalo ne ŋŋenda bwe ntyo.
Agamba nti we yafunira obuvune nga mukyala we ali ku ndiri nga yamujjanjaba.
Nga sikyasobola kukola kyamuviiramu nga tafuna mpeke nanfaako ne wiikisi yakusatu.
Ku kyalo kwasula nako kuliko poliisi wabula nga yakoma kumulaba lwe yafuna obuvune n'emutegeeza nti teryali ssasi wabula kaali kakebe kati ya gaasi.
Twagala okukozesa omukisa guno nga bwe mutuwadde information nti amangu ddala tugenda kutegeeza director waffe akulira akulira ebyobusawo n'ebyobulamu mu poliisi Dr. Byaruhanga era agoberere ensonga zino atuuke ku Mwami Sulaiman.
Olunaku Ssekayingo lwe yalumizibwa abatuuze b'e Nakasozi baali bakaaye nga baagala kugajambula musajja eyali ateeberezebwa okusoobya n'okutta mutuuze munnaabwe Nankinga mu kiro ekyali kikeesezza olunaku olwo. Poliisi etegeezezza nti ebadde tekimanyiiko nga kati egenda kusitukiramu ejjanjabe Ssekayingo. Anist Wisdom Kiyonga, NTV Akawungeezi.
Olw'embeera ebadde mu South Sudan eviiriddeko ebyenfuna by'eggwanga eryo okukola obubi ennyo kikyali kizibu okumanya ddi ssente abasuubuzi ba Uganda ze babanja gavumenti eyo lwe zirisasulwa. Omumyuka wa pulezidenti wa South Sudan Waniga tubuulidde nti eggwanga lye teririna ssente mu kiseera kino.
Nga 14 omwezi ogwokusatu omwaka guno abasuubuzi ba Uganda bakolera mu ggwanga lya South Sudan basisinkana omuduumizi wa poliisi General Kale Kihura okumutotolera obulumi bwe bayiseemu okufuna ensimbi zaabwe ze bagamba nti babanja gavumenti ya South Sudan.
Kotaina nazitwala Sudan era gyezimu kama wange naye kati emyaka 5 afande kayona njalo okuba ekifaananyi nga gweyenze afande kayona njalo otusiimemu kubanga nze senga sikyasobola okulaba mu Sudan yayitawo n'essimu gwa mpulago.
We traders really we want to be paid. There is nothing else. We want to be paid. We want peace. We want to trade with Sudanese.
Mu lukuŋŋaana luno Kayihura yabasuubizanga ensonga zaabwe ziri mu kukolwako era nti mu kaseera mpaweekaaga baali baakusasulwa.
Kati tulabe abalina obuyinza n'obuvunaanyizibwa bakukikolako weetuyita.
Kyokka we lutuukidde olwaleero nga gavumenti ya South Sudan egamba nti ensimbi zigyekubya mpi. Wani Igangono ye mmyuka wa pulezidenti wa South Sudan agamba nti eggwanga liri mu mbeera mbi naddala mu nsonga y'ebyenfuna.
We really have a problem of lack of liquidity now. Yeah, but otherwise we don't have misunderstanding at all with the traders from Uganda.
So when should they expect?
When we get money.
Ebyogedde omumyuka w'omukulembeze w'eggwanga bitegeeza nti oboolyawo ky'ekiseera abasuubuzi okwerabira ensimbi ze babanja gavumenti okutuusa ekiseera ekitali kigere. Julius Senkandwa, NTV.
NTV Akawungeezi katu. Amaaso gonna n'amatu biri Brazil naye katusooke ne ttiimu ey'eggwanga ey'ebikonde yeetegekera empaka za Commonwealth. Nkambi yeeyongeddemu ebbugumu olunaku olwaleero kubanga Kassim Ouma yakubako ebikonde ebya ssente ayingidde mu nkambi abaana n'abawa ku bukodyo. Katutandikirawo.
Kassim Ouma agamba nti yakomyewo mu ggwanga okuziika jjajjaawe Sabbiiti ewedde olwaleero akyaddeko mu nkambi ya ttiimu y'eggwanga yeetegekera empaka za Commonwealth n'atendekebwako nabo. Ono yeegezezzaamu ne Mike Ssekabembe azannyira mu buzito bwa heavyweight gw'agamba nti amuwuliddemu omusera.
Kwangezezaako omukuba nnyo mu lubuto kira nabe nga mukozesa naye waali omukakyalina so nemuteeka addeyo right ku mulimu so kirungi yajja kwongeramu ate abakyalina ebiseera ajja kuprovinga ajja tukolera kyatukoledde.
Ouma ategeezezza nga bw'alina essuubi mu ttiimu eno olw'ebyafaayo bya Uganda mu mpaka za Commonwealth.
Aba Justin Juko ba Golf Nyakana Commonwealth zinamu omukisa tuleetamu emidaali so temufa mutima tujja kuleetayo omudaali nze nsuubira.
Ouma yasemba okuzannyira mu Uganda mu myaka gy'ekyenda ng'ali mu ttiimu ya UPDF mu yatoloka n'asigala mu Amerika gy'azannyira ebikonde by'ensimbi wabula ategeezezza nti alina ekirowoozo ky'okutegekayo olwana mu Uganda naye n'asambajja ekyokulwana ne Badi Lusambya amusosonkereza okulwana naye.
Ekya Lusambya tekiriyo kuba Lusambya tansobola mwana mutonyo katembeera netobode kati Lusambya bannange ddala Lusambya namwe mulabyeko wano mbadde nkola mukozi ne heavyweight wa Uganda wuyo Lusambya ajja akolemu ne heavyweight yo tulabe. Abalwana ne kamya wali Robert musajja wange oyo.
Ttiimu y'ebikonde eno yakutandika okutendekebwa ng'esuzibwayo Sabbiiti ejja n'oluvannyuma balondemu abazannyi abataano abanaagenda Scotland mu mpaka za Commonwealth. Sam Mpoza, NTV Akawungeezi.
NTV Akawungeezi. Mu mupiira ogw'ensi yonna ogw'ebigere World Cup olunaku olwajja omupiira France gweyazanye ne Honduras kyayongedde okweyoleka nti tekinologiya ayitibwa goal line technology alaga oba omupiira gusaze line oba tegugisaze yeetaagisa nnyo kubanga basobodde okumukozesa okuzuula nti goolo yanywedde. Naye ng'ebyo biri awo, goolo eza kyeteeba ezakakubwa mu mpaka ez'omulundi guno zisinga ezaaliwo mu kikopo ky'ensi yonna ekya 2010, so ng'emipiira gikyabulayo mingi nnyo.
Omupiira gwasoose kukuba ku muti, olwo omukwasi wa goal Noel Valadares n'agezaako okugugyamu, wabula omukwasi wa goal ate yagongeddeyo bwongezi munda, era omupiira olwasaze layini ya goolo essaawa y'omukomonsi wa firimbi n'evuga okulaga nti omupiira gusaze okusinziira ku tekinologiya ono. Tekinologiya ono akolebwa kampuni y'Abagirimaani eya Goal Control asobola okulaga omukomonsi wa firimbi nti omupiira gusaze layini mu bbanga lya katikitiki kamu, era ekigambo goolo ne kyewandika ku ssaawa ye. Tekinologiya ono abadde akozesebwa ne mu liigi ya Bungereza sizoni ewedde. Ebyo nga biri bityo, goolo y'omuzannyi wa Bosnia Sid Kolasinac ye goolo ya kyeteeba ey'okusatu eyakakubwa bukya mpaka za mulundi guno zitandika. Kinajjukirwa nti mu mpaka za mwaka ogw'2010 ezaali mu ggwanga erya South Africa zagenda okuggwa nga goolo 2 zokka eza kyeteeba ze zikubiddwa. Omubrazil Machero, omukwasi wa goolo wa Honduras Noel Valadares ne munne Kolasinac be beeteebye goolo zino esatu ezakateebwa mu mipiira 11 egyakazannyibwa. Mu 2010 mu South Africa, Omudenmark Daniel Aga ne Park Chu-young owa South Korea be beekuba goolo eza kyeteeba. Goolo za kyeteeba ezikyasinze okuteebwa mu mpaka za World Cup ez'omulundi ogumu zaali mu za 1998 ezaali mu ggwanga erya Bufaransa nga zaali omugatte gwa goolo 6.
NTV akawungezi si bwekyo nno bwerabise kubanga eddakiika tusigaza 22 okuwera essaawa 2 wabula Mutabazi Ronald J, Jose Mpaji, Sesanga, Nampala, Kiza, Cheyune Michael, Tujune Rutaya n'abalala bangi nnyo mwebala okwetaba naffe ku Facebook ne Twitter. Mwongere okuteesa ebigambo awo bekikwatako bajja kuba nabo bagoberera balabe tusobola kukola tutya okwongera okutumbula eddembe ly'abaana mu Uganda. Mutukoze bulungi okuva gye twatandikidde amawulire amalala gajja ku ssaawa 3. Mulimu bye tubadde nabyo n'ebirala bingi nnyo by'otannaba kulaba olunaku olwaleero. Tova ku NTV.
NTV, turning on your world.
Sometimes children have amazing ideas, but they can lead to tough stains. And for tough stains, there's new Omo Fast Action. Its super fast cleaning technology removes stains fast. New Omo, no one removes tough stains faster.
Program Guide is brought to you by
Jessa Smooth Yogurt.
Program Guide.
Jessa Smooth Yogurt comes in various flavors like vanilla, strawberry and banana. Jessa Farm Dairy. Always trusted, always delicious.
Today's highlight with
Nice and Lovely Body Lotion.
Hey, seriously, I thought that we are friends. What's the matter? We are buddies. No, you didn't tell me that you have a problem. What problem? That's the one I'm doing next to Chama. But what's that? Chichi, go for a balance, Kugana.
You bring out the best in me. New and improved Nice and Lovely Body Lotion. The 24-hour skin moisturizer that's your skin's best friend. The best in me.
And the change of government won't stop a thing. I've run out of fingers counting the number of multinationals setting up here. What about the 3 companies that announced their plans to launch last week? I say they're shortly. Me, I'd be looking to sell. At what price? More. Much, much more. I don't know who you are or how you know these things, but one thing I'm sure of, you're in the wrong job. Here, call me tomorrow at 9 o'clock in the morning. I'd like to hear more from you.
Are you ready for your big break? The East African, understanding the region.
You're watching Morning at NTV.
It is not how much we have, but how much we enjoy that makes us truly happy. Well, you might be a supporter of Portugal, and this morning at NTV is dedicated to you. Enjoy every little thing that you have and celebrate it. My name is Brian Mlondo, welcoming you to yet another exciting edition of Morning at NTV, live from the Kampala Serena Hotel rooftop. Simon Kasiate, Joel Senyonyi Mabel are all ready to make sure that this is going to be one of your awesome days. And also Dakaba will also be here later in the show to tell us what happened to Ronaldo. But for now, check out your question of the day. Well, those platforms are available: Facebook, Twitter, SMS platform 6565. Let us know. The first 5 respondents will walk away with the mug for Morning at NTV. Mabel, who is standing by at the NTV studios. Mabel, what a humiliation of Portugal. No one expected it. Ronaldo was absent. I can definitely understand, because you also support an equally weak team like England. How does it feel this morning? And by the way, how did you sleep?
I slept very well, thank you, Bran. But I would like to tell you, Bran, he who laughs last laughs best. You are laughing at so many people. If I were you, I think I would laugh a bit slowly, you know. But I'll be letting you know a bit later on what I think about the Portugal game. It was quite sad. I was also very sad about Ghana. And obviously Nigeria and Iran will also be talking about that later. But thank you for joining us this Tuesday morning. We'll start off the show with our headlines. Kenya government blames Mketoni attack on the opposition. The newly elected UN General Assembly President has returned home from the US to a hero's welcome. And we will also be bringing you a story of 2 children who survived a ritual sacrifice.
You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji, and Brian Mulondo.
Once again, a warm welcome to Morning at NTV. My name is Mabel Kebirunji with a look at some of the stories making news. The Al-Shabaab, the Somali militant group with links to Al-Qaeda, has claimed responsibility for the attack on the Kenya's coast town of Mketoni. At least 48 people were killed and several injured in the attack on hotels and a police station. The Kenyan government earlier blamed the attack on opposition politicians who it says have been inciting the public into destructive politics.
What appears as the aftermath of last night's attack in Mketoni town is a clear indicator of the panic, agony and fear that the dead and survivors went through as close to 30 gunmen attacked them. By morning, the streets were littered with bodies, burnt cars and debris from burnt buildings. The militant group, the Al-Shabaab, have now claimed responsibility for the attack. They say it was carried out to avenge the presence of Kenyan troops in Somalia and the killing of Muslims. Their admission comes hours after the government blamed political leaders.
I wish to assure the country of the government's commitment to deal with political incitement and caution political leaders inciting the public to desist from destructive politics and ethnic profiling that may be responsible for this heinous act.
Olelenku promised that the government will this time bring their silence to book.
We will bring to the attention of Kenyans through our various agency efforts the perpetrators of these criminal activities.
However, he failed to relate the attack with politics when journalists asked him to. He reassured Kenyans of a secure and terror-free country.
Security has been beefed across the country, taking cognizance of the heightened political temperatures being raised through the activities we are all seeing.
Civil society and opposition Orange Democratic Movement have so far responded by condemning the Mketoni attack, urging the Jubilee government to increase level of security in the country. Close to 1,000 people have died as a result of terror attacks in East Africa since 1998. Some of the major attacks include the August 1998 bombing of United States diplomatic missions in Kenya and Tanzania. In November 2002, militants bombed an Israel-owned luxury hotel near Mombasa, killing 13. Twin bombing in Kampala on July 11, 2010, claimed lives of over 76. Between October 2011 and March 2013, the Al-Shabaab and its sympathizers staged many attacks in Kenya that killed more than 60 people. And September 21, 2013, gunmen used grenades and assault rifles to attack an upscale mall in Kenya's capital, killing more than 60 and injuring 175. Because of the repeated attacks on Kenyan soil, Uganda's security agencies have in recent years issued terror alerts and heightened security around important installations. Solomon Kawesa, NTV.
Our thoughts and prayers with the Kenyans there. Nightfall at Mketoni came with empty streets and quiet homes, with many residents mourning and counting losses. Many retreated to their homes and some to the forests by 6:30 in the evening yesterday. There were no civilians nor security officers on the streets, with most electricity lines cut off. IG Kimayo is expected to hold talks with civilians and local authorities today.
The last flickers of the midnight flames slowly died.
With it goes souls, hopes and dreams of many residents of Mpeketoni. A stench of death filters from the nearby Mpeketoni hospital to the streets, already filled with faces of shock, despair and gloom. Tens of vehicles and motorbikes burnt to shells lie along the roads. Residents slowly pick up the remaining pieces of what was their life just 24 hours ago. They say Mpeketoni was a peaceful town with flourishing businesses and a happy community. But when night fell on 15th of June, it came with a terrifying, unforgettable occurrence, an attack that left more than 40 dead and hundreds injured and counting losses. One of them, Mateso Siteti, a young man operating a bodaboda business at Mpeketoni.
Mwendo kama saa 3 usiku, wakati nikitoka Hongo na bike, nilipofika hapo junction, nikakuta Nissan moja nyeupe. Sasa ilikuwa kadri nimeelekea hapo kwa Nissan, ilikuwa nikienda left na yeye anifuata left, nikienda right anifuata right. Kwa kama kusimama, niliposimama ukatoka watu wamevaa nguo uniform, wamejifunga macho, wako na risasi, wakaanza kupiga. Sasa walipoanza kupiga, nikageuza pikipiki. Kugeuza pikipiki, huyo wa nyuma akapigwa ya kwanza mpaka hiki kabambuka ikaja mbele yangu. Sasa ile nini na mimi wakanipiga mkono, kisha ndo wakamiminia risasi yule.
Nikaona watu wametokea njia hapa, nikasema hii ni polisi. Bila bila walikuwa wamevaa kama ya polisi kabisa. Na moja alikuwa na mbudugi, mwingine alikuwa amejifunga ile risasi, ile mbudugi ile risasi ya kujifunga hivi na hivi.
For more than 5 hours, gunmen rampaged through the town. The local AP police camp was attacked. Banks, hotels and homes were burnt down. Those who sustained injuries in this attack are very few, but the dead are so many.
Hili jambo kwangu limenitia hofu sana. Wamepiga paka saa 9, polisi hata mmoja hatujamuona. Ile wameenda ndo wakatokea kama kuangalia sasa miili ambayo maiti.
The gunmen hijacked a van and used it to attack a small town 8 kilometers from Mpeketoni called Kibao. The vans were then set ablaze 40 kilometers from here. The drivers of the 2 vans were allegedly killed. Hundreds of security personnel have been deployed to Mpeketoni, but at the same time, thousands of villagers, especially women and children, have fled into the forests. Those who remain behind say their families are better off in the wilderness as of now. Masi Juma, NTV, Mpeketoni, Lamu County.
Uganda's newly elected president of the UN General Assembly, Sam Kutesa, returned home from the US to a hero's welcome. The entourage of boda riders that escorted Kutesa from NTV airport went wild with excitement after the wealthy minister offered them wads of US dollars in appreciation for their warm reception. Maurice Ochoa reports.
Uganda's Foreign Affairs Minister was given a warm reception at Entebbe Airport upon his return from the US state of New York. Minister Sam Kutesa was received by an excited crowd of Ugandans who congratulated him for being elected president of the UN General Assembly. Kutesa says his first task will be to advocate for an end to all forms of injustice across the globe.
To work together with nations of the world to end poverty, to enhance women and their rights, to tackle climate change, and a range of other issues.
The UN General Assembly presidency is largely a ceremonial role whose term runs for 1 year. The minister then stepped out of the VIP lounge with his wife and other dignitaries to meet the crowds awaiting for him at the parking lot. He was given a hero's welcome outside the Entebbe airport by an ecstatic crowd donning NRM t-shirts. He then made a stopover at Nakasero in Kampala and dished out dollars to his supporters.
This job which I'm going to take on is not only an honor to me, but an honor to Uganda and Africa. Era haji mbabali yali wano, njakuba koke muwa, addemu abandabye mmwe. Babali mmanyi uno
kuba badde sente za muzenjala tubalenga muziraba emu 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9
A number of ministers, MPs and youth leaders congratulated Sam Kutesa upon attaining the international post.
And we hope that we are going to achieve as Uganda and as the African continent a lot from his leadership as the President of the UN Assembly.
We believe that he will deliver to his expectation.
A vote of confidence not only for Uganda but our dear President.
And I believe tourism will be boosted since the President of the United UN General Assembly comes from Uganda.
Minister Kutesa's election wasn't smooth sailing. More than 9,000 people in the US and UK signed a petition urging UN states to block him because of Uganda's enactment of the anti-homosexuality bill. Maurice Ochol, NTV.
Uganda and other African countries celebrated the Day of the African Child with a focus on a friendly and free environment for education. But many children still live in fear, with others not going to school at all. Yesterday morning, our reporter Moses Akena told the story of 2 children who survived ritual sacrifice and are being rehabilitated and also given a new chance with getting an education.
Police records show that every month, at least 1 child gets sacrificed in Uganda. 50 cases have been reported countrywide since 2009. But amidst this gloomy picture are some stories of miraculous survival. These 2 boys, George and Canaan, are some of the lucky few children who survived the ordeal.
George was rescued in 2009 and he was found in a banana plantation in Busia. That's where his private parts were cut off.
Are you a footballer?
For Canaan, the asylum spawns last year when his father left him and his younger sister herding cattle in Luaro district. Unfortunately, his sister bled to death after her genitals were cut off.
And also tried to cut Canaan's head so that he would die. But he cut halfway the neck.
Today, their scarred bodies are evidence of how close they came to death. Aged 8 and 9, one would expect them to be in mid-primary school. Sadly, they are just in primary 1 here at Kampala Academy. Some people claim that the duo and others who survived sacrifice could have been found circumcised or with ears pierced.
We have proved that there is no clear formula. Some circumcised children have survived, while there are also some other circumcised children who have not survived.
Recovery for such children takes a lot of time. The situation is also made worse by the lack of a robust post-recovery program in Uganda.
The best way is to bring them to school and also access a psychologist. We have a psychologist who speaks to them and talks to them every week.
The police, where we can do some treatment with these children, and sometimes the children, we seek assistance from some civil society organizations which have specialized to provide support services for such victims.
For now, all seems well with the boys as they look forward to leading normal lives. But the battle to stop other children from falling prey remains in the hands of parents and the general public, as the police also play their part. Moses Akena, NTV.
You're still watching Morning at NTV. We now cross over to the gentlemen Simon, Joel and Bran to find out what's making news in the press. Good morning, gentlemen. Good morning, Simon. How are you doing today? And what's happening in the press?
Good morning, Mabel. We are all alive and kicking and extremely vibrant for this Tuesday morning, waking up to what's trending on the headline pages of the Daily Monitor and the Red Pepper. Interesting stories coming in from 2 kingdoms, Buganda and Toro. And that's what we'll be looking at when we open this edition of Morning at NTV's Press Review. good morning once again and welcome to, yes, Morning at NTV's press review with myself, Simon Kasiate, and scones between two incredible gentlemen, Joel Senyonyi and Brian Mulondo. Good morning, good people, extremely sharp in your black suave and debonair suits.
Good morning, Simon. Interesting.
How
are you today?
Not bad. Just waking up to not very nice news, especially coming in from the headline of the Red Pepper. Brian, what do we have in your favorite daily?
Well, this must definitely worry all Kabaka loyalists, and the headline is Kabaka Mutebi is very sick. Uganda King has serious ailment and it needs our prayers.
The story actually is that he has got a kidney ailment. Whether or not that is true, we are waiting to see how that pans out. Many times you want to take what is written in that paper of yours with a pinch of salt, but
they say it's a chronic kidney disease, CKD.
Well, there we have it. So possibly we also may need to appeal to all those who may not necessarily be Kabaka loyalists, that any ailment to anybody is certainly a case of concern, and more so if they are the rank and position of a king. But also in the Daily Monitor this morning, we are looking at a story playing out from, yes, alleged remarks by the president of this nation when he referred to the King of Toro as a boy, and perhaps went even further to say his planned hunger strike over certain issues is the best thing that would have happened to him, if for nothing else, to avert the cases of obesity and other chronic illnesses that may result from overweight. And now
they are not alleged remarks. He actually made those remarks.
Well, I do not have the proof as Simon, so I want to keep
safe. The rest of us saw it.
You see, for me, if I am hounded, there are no youth that are going to demonstrate, you know, to save my life. I'm not a coward, you know.
For your potato plantation.
I am looking at my little minions.
Pieces.
No, potato plantation.
Your little minions? Go ahead.
I'm looking at my little minions, 6-year-old, 2-year-old, and 6 weeks old. I do not want to leave those ones in the hands of a single man.
We have nothing to worry about since I'm self-contained.
Absolutely. So, I mean, for me, to use the current trending slug, but you know, people who
so, but you see, what is the likely implication of the president's statements?
Well, I see the friend of Joel here making a very...
my friend?
Tamale Mirundi.
When did this guy become my friend?
These Toro youth are being used by the opposition to cause a rift between President Yoweri Museveni and the king and the people of Toro, or the King of Toro for that matter. But I insist on what I said yesterday, and I've made my arguments severally on social media, and I've made them known, and I borrowed this from the very wise words of my friend Joel Senyonyi, who says, for as long as you are unable to feed yourself and somebody does feed you and fend for you, they are in position to call you all sorts of things, uncharitable or otherwise. It could have been worse than calling you a boy. I know, for example, you are employing a manson or a worker in your banana plantation who is 3 times your father's age. I've had some guys say, you're a man, you know, as
they make it right that you pay the guy and so on. Look, when Tamale Mirundi says it's politicians who are, you know, causing a rift and so on, I don't know whether he watches news. I don't know whether he was at the function. He should have been. He's the president's press secretary, so he should know a lot better. I would want to see His Excellency the President coming out to apologize. It is not right. What he did, calling this gentleman a boy, you know, Siju, if he first that will help him cut down on size and so on. Who does that?
Away from the kingdom demeanor of you who just see him in newspapers and watch him on TV, you've not met him in places where boys hang out to see exactly the human side of him. I think that he's as human as we all do, and I think there is some, in every man there is a boy element to it. And we are the boys, we love our toys. I'm sure he, and you know, he found some good toys here, a Range Rover Sport. He has a tremendous Mercedes-Benz. I wish His Royal Highness could give me a spin in that Mercedes-Benz. And I'm wondering how a 20-year-old could afford that. Yes, clearly, it wasn't well bought by his subjects who are demonstrating. We know who has been fending for this boy. Oh, sorry. We know who has been fending for this king, His Royal Highness. And
will you manage the battle you're starting?
For as long as someone fends for you, I have a feeling that they can call you anything. So these youths, rather than...
Not that it's justified.
Rather than these youth spend their energies and credible industrious time demonstrating and crying more than the bereaved and showing that they love their king more than the king possibly you know, cares for himself. They should work so hard and win him from feeding off the benevolent hands of President Yoweri Museveni.
But you see, as that happens, I would want to see His Excellency the President cajoling, and not just, you know, religious leaders. We have now, you know, heads of cultural institutions, opposition leaders, we need to see him being the father that we expect him to be.
In that case, you can call me a boy. I mean, my father,
but the very point I'm saying, you know, if you are the father of honor in this country, if you're to cajole people, you're not going to call them boys. They've got people the other day, young people knelt before His Excellency the President to beg for money. People prostrate before this gentleman is calling a boy without them expecting anything from him. Even if they take stuff for him, but okay, and then they prostrate. You know?
But I think
so one would imagine.
I think what we should even be looking at is not, you know, whether the president called him a boy or not, is the ability of the king to rally his kingdom and get whatever they need to get from the government.
Yeah, but in the meantime, we need to see same language. Let me actually put it plainly.
But I think
is that going to happen until
a case of Oliver Twist here? I mean, it could have been worse. Me, I want to believe in this local dialect saying that yes. As in, you can demand and clamor for what you need, but when you lay yourself bare to somebody who is giving it to you benevolently. And you see, let's not forget, I keep talking about an exaggerated sense of self-worth. So, what is the ramification of this? So you are demonstrating you're being tear gassed, you're beaten up, you're spending more time than you should be using in some of these zero-sum efforts. So at the end of the day, then what happens?
Cutting some slack for these people, I think they are agitated and I think they are right to be apoplectic. Why? Because when it is a leader that you know you revere, some of them venerate the man, irrespective of. It's just like, for example, I'm not a Muslim, yeah. I don't believe in Islam. I don't think Allah is God. But look, I'm not going to denigrate the Muslims and say, look, what are you guys worshipping? What crap is that? It is wrong.
And to use your same example, I so believe in God. I am a staunch Catholic. But one thing is for sure, I will not demonstrate against the derogatory remarks made towards the pontiff, or even for that matter, my good friend.
And you don't have to.
Dr. Cyprian
you may not do so. But if
give them some call a press conference
and say, look, this is wrong. These ones didn't call a press conference. They decided to walk around with placards, and I think they're entitled to do that.
Like your friend Dr. Hilderman apologizing to the Catholic community for wearing a robe and doing, giving sacraments to people.
You talk about feeding, government feeding Toro. Government says it cannot feed children in schools. This is according to the minister. This is the quote. This is Ronald Chibule, Honorable Youth State Minister. He says, if the money was available, we'd be glad to meet that cost, but it is not. The money that is available is being channeled to areas that are top priority. Top priority.
He's very right. I mean, I can tell you, Joel, and thank God, you are simply unable to feed yourself comfortably. Please do not bring a child into this world that you are going to leave to the state to feed. You know? People denigrating their cardinal responsibilities to something faceless called the state. The state does not give a wood on what your child eats.
But then why does the state emphasize it as an opportunity for people to get things for free? Has the state helped people understand
I'm sure, Brian,
the concept of cost
you're a very knowledgeable person. You're always at the front line of things as they happen. You've had ministers saying government will feed their children.
Yes.
You, Brian, send your child to a government feeding center and they feed him for you.
Of course, I will never do that.
You see, there's going to be one message coming out. These guys have got to operate.
So why do you want the same standard? Why do you want others to be to sire children and allow them to be fed by the state?
I do not want government to put people in a position where they will depend on it, and then all of a sudden say we don't have money. They have made people think that education is free. And now all of a sudden
government has lied to them.
You have to pay for uniform.
Government has lied. It is our role to unlie them. People, please, if you are watching that, government lied to you. They do not feed your children.
You are stepping into Tamara's shoes.
No,
but look, we've got to see one message coming out from government.
Then what is our role? We are not here for comic factor. We are here to tell people the truth that others are not able to tell them. I can tell you, Brian, don't be dishonest people here. Your child is not fed by the state. Your child is not treated by the state.
But I don't expect government to feed my child.
So why do you want others to expect the government to?
Because the government has made people think that it will feed them.
In the middle of you guys this morning.
Listen, Brian, are you any more energetic than most Ugandans?
I think I am more energetic than most Ugandans.
No, you are not the most energetic, you are not the most sane, you are not the most everything, but you know that your responsibility is to fend for your own children. So am I. I'm not the most energetic, I'm not the most brilliant, I am not the most
sane,
and guess what? And yet, you can imagine, the three of us here, I think, have the capacity to sire 12 children in 1 month.
Yes, but
we have the resources available. And yes, we have the resources. But why don't we do that? It is because we believe we cannot afford them, the 12 of them. It is against our basic decency and decorum, and that is the same standard for which all those who are watching us and those outside there who are sleeping right now making babies they can't afford.
Enough
they
said.
Need to be told.
Enough said. Ringtone case, Sebagala wants 8 billion shillings from MTN.
This guy is
you remember this case? I forget what song is that ringtone that was courtesy of Sebagala. He's saying these guys have got to pay him.
It's Sebagala's voice speaking special English.
Special English.
The President of the United Nations General Assembly, Honorable Sam Kamba Kutesa, and also Member of Parliament for Maugora, is back in the country. Those who watched NTV News must have seen him getting involved in a number of electioneering activities and say, well, I say congratulations and welcome back.
Without a doubt. Two things.
He must win himself of the local politics.
Sam should graduate from this cheap politics. He's on the big stage. You can't give out money on the
I saw that and I was completely vexed. For starters, congratulations to the man. I think he has come a long way.
Wait a minute. But he shouldn't give money on the street.
Come on.
Where should he give the money from?
Have you ever seen Ban Ki-moon giving out money on the street?
But Ban Ki-moon is not even an MP of a two-person constituency.
Who cares? At the moment, as Ban Ki-moon is more...
But Ban Ki-moon is also Secretary General of the United Nations. This is just the President of the General Assembly.
He has a
General Assembly. But
all of a sudden now you've lowered the that it's just the President. But look, I think we need to rid ourselves of this backward politics of, you go around dishing out money. I saw it was about what, $2,000.
First rid yourself of backwardness. If you're a backward society, do not expect to get Polish politicians like Hillary Clinton and others who you revere. The man,
and one of the ways of ridding ourselves of this backwardness
of Maugora. If you got a typical Maugora counter person and you saw the kind of people that this Sam Kahamba Kutesa represents, you'll be amazed. In fact, I can tell you, Honorable Kutesa is one of the most decent people I've ever seen compared to the people he represents.
Question now. Question.
I don't know what you mean by that.
Serious question.
Serious question.
Does this post require Sam to quit his constituency?
I think that if one of his handlers is watching, and especially my good friend Fred Opolot, I would kindly invite you, Fred, to let's get in touch and bring the President of the UN General Assembly to this very show for the big story so that he can elucidate some of the issues and maybe also share with Ugandans what exactly his game plan is for the next 1 year. And let's also not forget, while you are away, Fred, I'm sure you must have been told, NTV did telecast live his speech from the UN General Assembly podium, and no other TV station, including your very own national broadcaster, did telecast it. I mean, that clearly shows you how much we revere these matters, and that's more reason why, if for nothing else, you would need to reward us by the presence of Sam Kutesa on this very night for us to have this candid discussion that we normally have every good morning. Fred, I'm sure you've heard that.
Talking
so
about
your question will be answered
money that is being dished out and others saying
and
no money.
Hopefully he will come,
now I see why you're making a passionate plea out there.
Pounds are better, pounds are
better. To remove this dust, I see. 200 police officers demand salaries. Now look, I think I'm getting disturbed. Every now and again we see it's either teachers, police officers that are lacking pay. And we seem to be very comfortable, since you are telling us that we need to be communicating. So what's your message to... This would be the Ministry of Public Service, I suppose.
You see, your own government here, or your own state structure.
It's not yours anymore.
Ours is unable to pay its teachers.
Yeah, but its officials can dish out dollars.
No, wait a minute. You see, that's where the malaise is. If you are unable to pay police officers, you think you can run a hydropower station? So when someone comes in and runs it for you, profitably, as ESCOM has been doing for the last 11 years.
Did you just want to talk about it?
And then all of a sudden realize, no, they are doing a lackluster job.
Then you start
Then
you start making noise that they should go away. If you are unable to pay your own police officers, you are unable to pay your own teachers, are you able to go and pay engineers at the dam? I say no. I think for the most part, one of these days, now you're seeing, they are militarizing NADs. One of these days they will privatize it. And before you know it, this police will be a private force. With all these marauding private security companies around that are paying top dollar to their security officers, I will tell you, will see mass desertion one of these days.
I just saw a new uniform.
This country is in trouble.
That these guys are donning.
Police officers?
Yes.
Yeah, the new uniforms, a new name. They imagine that is going
FFP.
to, give
what
them
is
another
FFP?
facelift and that kind of thing. Look.
I see now it has FFP. Yes, the new uniform.
Well,
is it foot patrol?
We're talking about matters electricity. We are waking up to a headline story on page 5 of the Daily Monitor that the funding for, yes, the much taunted Karuma Dam is hanging in balance. Let's not forget that this is a dam that should have been constructed and funded by a certain Chinese outfit. Now the story is in here. Why is government failing here? We see a quote coming in from the Director of Energy and Mineral Development at the Ministry that government has to contribute 15% once the company meets the conditions for the advance. And it seems like on our part the project has to move on. The cost of not getting the project on time is much higher. Yes, government is committed, but looks like the partners they chose are not the committed ones.
Thank you for that, because yesterday I was driving by Naguru and I thought to myself, where did this project stop? They got the people out like they were going to start building next week. It's on to a year now. Nothing has been done.
Wait a minute. I don't know why. Wait a minute. At the risk of getting off our camera shot, you try to stand up and look the other side down. There used to be a place called the Shimon Hotel. But try stand up.
No, something is going up. Something is going up. Something is going. Okay. Isn't it that?
Right.
Kingdom Kampala.
Please now.
Anyway. So in other words, you are surprised that we are surprised. It is just the way we do things. Very unfortunate. We shall not use guns to oust Museveni. This is according to opposition politicians.
Speaking of guns, a very sad story. Of course, our neighbors, Kenya, continue the massacre from the Al-Shabaab. By press time, they were saying about 48 people are dead.
It is way beyond
and now
that.
it's
beyond.
over
53.
Yeah, so very, very sad for our Kenyan brothers. And,
but of course, you know that when Kenya catches a cold, obviously the entire region will have to sneeze. And so this calls for tremendous vigilance on our part, because what's happening in Kenya could actually happen to us, because we are not in so much of a different circumstance. We also have our boys and boots on the ground in Somalia, and these are alleged Al-Shabaab terrorists coming in from the Horn of African nation of Somalia.
There's a UN official who says here that gender equality is key to growth. I have heard people talking about, you know, when you educate a child, you have educated a nation and that kind of thing. I'm slowly but surely beginning to be disturbed by the way we try to uplift the girl child as we, you know, trample down on the boy child. I'm not too sure that works a great deal, you know. For example, this 1.5 that is given to these girls as they go to university, I am of the view that it is obsolete, it is tired. Girls have come of age, you know. Ameliorated enough, and why are you looking at me like that?
Our female colleagues are going to give it to you.
Look, I think they had, I mean, this affirmative action had its time. It is very tired. You know, we are at a level where we are having lady bosses, you know, and you know, they are all over the place, which is a good thing.
Yeah, I mean,
but for me, it bothers me that, I mean, your boss is, actually all your bosses.
All my bosses are from Capital Radio to ESCOM to NTV.
Yeah, but that will help you. I hope you don't feel emasculated to put you a bit in your place. Look,
this must be good news for all our filmmakers and actors in Uganda. Nigerian actress to light up Uganda Film Festival 2014. And this chick is, we all know her as Mama G, Patience Ozokwo.
Yeah, I remember when I was still very local and lousy, and I used to watch Nigerian movies.
That was when yesterday.
I don't watch them anymore because I discovered, look, I am a lot better than this, you know. I used to know her as a very evil woman. I actually understand, sometime back, about a year or so back, she went to a market in Nigeria somewhere and they nearly lynched her because of, you know, the image that she portrays in her movies, that she's this bad woman. I hope that doesn't happen when she comes here.
Well, President Museveni launched yesterday the 4.5 billion Kayunga ferry. So now all you folks who are finding it difficult to cross the Nile from Kayunga to the other parts of northern Uganda like Apache, here we have it, a new ferry, and of course increased productivity that may certainly come from a result that now the infrastructure is available.
Quote of the day in the Daily Monitor. This is President Museveni, an interesting night program with Yami. He says, I was tired of my veterans crying of poverty. Your Excellency, I hope you are also tired of your teachers crying of poverty, your police officers crying of poverty, you see, I'm humbling myself. I'm making a passionate plea to His Excellency, the President, you know. We shouldn't be concerned about literally everybody in this country. That we should be availing services to paying them on time as we should, valuing their services, etc.
A couple of weeks ago, there was a list that leaked, and that was President, by faith, President Amama Mbabazi's cabinet. And he had appointed the first lady in that cabinet. And here it says Janet has rejected that job.
Was I on that
was you? For what?
As
Maybe
what, government
as the Tamale
Mirundi of Mbagazi.
You know?
Not a bad idea.
That will end up being a cliche.
Considering your English
well,
is,
next magazine in
better.
the Daily Monitor is looking at some of the worst jobs you can ever have, and is specifically putting the spotlight at the NSSF top job managing director. And they're listing out all these former managing directors of NSSF who did not quite see a proper exit, including Dr. Yoram Barongo, Mr. Abel Katembwe, Leonard Mpuma, you remember Chandi Jamwa, obviously many of you, and of course Richard Yargaba, who's just...
Jamwa had a very good exit.
No,
really?
Where you did not have a very good exit here.
Look, now that people are fasting and so on, we probably should...
Fasting?
Where have
Muslims,
Where have you been?
Muslims are fasting.
No, people of Toro are fasting.
Oh.
Too soon, you know. Probably should launch a national day of prayer and fasting for NSSF, because look, there seems to be some ghost that is hounding this place, year in, year out.
Well, in the Rainbow magazine for the youngsters this morning, get yourself a copy for your little boy or girl who will come back from school only to get to understand what her teens are doing or what her fellow young people are doing in Rainbow magazine. And it's headlining saying the things that daddy has taught. I think it's coming off Father's Day, that was just 2 days ago. And of course, woe unto you daddies, from whom your children can only say they have learned being vulgar and being indecent.
There's a letter of the day that you know, is a little close to my heart. Simplify, somebody says, simplify tax registration process. The time I was getting 18, which some people call TIN number. For goodness sake, TIN is tax identification number. And there are some who say ATM machine. Look, this thing gave me a bloody nose. You go online, it's not a clear process, and I keep wondering, we're actually going to have many more people evading taxes, because these guys in Chikubu, for example, they make millions every day and they should be paying loads of money in taxes. But if they are going to go through a very cumbersome process, trying to register for taxes, they are going to avoid it very conveniently. I think something needs to be done. I do not know what, but we need to make this process
I think URA has really tried. They tried to decentralize these processes as much as possible. If you're in Kawempe, you can get your team from Kawempe. You don't
you're
have to
actually supposed to do it yourself. That's the challenge.
What's the problem?
You go online. See the
of course, you're
online
supposed to do it
portal
yourself,
issue
Joe.
is very ambiguous. I have not met people that have...
What hurts me is people who are able to do these things and have done them themselves tend to want to think that others are unable to do them. Then you start crying for and trying to grandstand as if you care for the common man in Kikubu. I can tell you, the common man in Kikubu who makes billions is able to employ a one little broadcast to do it for him. At the end of the day,
it should not be that way. I should be able to do it myself. That is why they're actually decentralizing it, like you're saying, putting it on the web portal. Otherwise, if I don't want to hire one Kasiate, I might, you know, conveniently evade the taxes.
Well, it is as difficult washing clothes and underwear. It is as difficult cooking food. It is as difficult even bathing oneself. There is nothing that is simple. Please, people, engage this system and try to do it yourself.
And what we are saying, this system can actually be made a lot simpler. There are things I was looking at and I was thinking, this is irrelevant, this should not be there. It is complicated for no reason, especially if you're trying to get money out of people. It should be easier, for goodness sake. If you're trying to get me to give you money,
but it's already easier, the fact that it is free.
But the fact that it is free?
Yes.
Are we supposed to pay money to pay money?
Well, you can't make an omelette
the
without
Boko Haram
breaking
continue to wreak havoc in Nigeria, the ISIS even more havoc in Iraq, and now we're waking up to sad news coming in from neighboring Kenya of the Al-Shabaab militants still wreaking havoc in that East African country. Havoc all over the place, and of course we also know on the world stage of football that German did wreak havoc for Portugal. Mabel, what else is wreaking havoc from wherever you are on the international scene? Is it the fact that Michael Schumacher is out of coma? What do we have there? Say it.
Thank you very much, Simon. Yes, Michael Schumacher is out of coma and has been transferred to University Hospital in Switzerland. We have that story here. He is out of coma, and but he will still need a lot of time for rehabilitation. Also making news, we have the US here saying they are deploying military personnel. Up to 275 military personnel are to be sent to Iraq to provide support to the US Embassy in Baghdad. This is according to the White House, a press release from the White House. And also happening still a lot here on the Iraqi conflict. Now, people are wondering what exactly is happening with Hillary Clinton. She is very active on social media, and people are trying to read into that. Is she, without saying it, actually going to stand for the 2016 presidential elections in the US? There's a whole look at her life and what she has actually been doing on social media on the CNN page. And unfortunately, there was a tornado around Nebraska, and the people of Nebraska in the U.S. are still looking for bodies. So far, one person has been confirmed dead, and about a dozen more have been injured in that tornado. Now, yesterday, we saw the U.S. beat Ghana, but the thing is, Ghana actually were the stronger team. So we're looking at a new crop of heroes, should I say. John Brooks, Clint Dempsey. These are some people that some of us had actually never heard of the US and football. Well, these are heroes that I am sure Dakaba, I and Brian will be talking about later to find out where does the US go actually after beating Ghana the way they did. Now, captured Iraqi soldiers have been lined up and shot. Some of these soldiers were actually asked to sing ISIS slogans before they were executed. Another video showing this horrific execution on social media. This is on the Sky News page. And true Brits must speak English, according to a survey that was carried out in England. I wonder if they were to do this in Uganda, what they would say a true Ugandan must speak. England, we know, has very many immigrants, and some of them cannot speak English. And so the British feel in order to be really British, you must speak the Queen's language. Again, we still have the story here of the US trying to send some troops to Iraq because the northern part of the country has been captured by militants. Now, yesterday we talked a little about this. Russia actually cut off gas to Ukraine, and the borders have been secured by the current president. Apparently, Ukraine has a bill of $1.9 billion US, and this is for natural gas. And now we are seeing tensions rise between these two former Soviet neighbors. And yeah, that is all we had for you in the international scene. We will be taking a short break, but Morning at NTV continues.
You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji, and Brian Mulondo.
I was going to my hall, someone came from my back and was
how I went to the nurse and asked why is it that our father is negative and for us we are positive.
Every time I find a story of assault of one person to another, I get disturbed.
Mwayombi ekiro lwaleeta suzeewo lwe bakwokeza nazeepoza kimu nti mujja wange yanjokeza
kino ekyafa kino kyali kyakulira muno mu lubuto.
The Irene I know just loves music and loves to sing. I've never seen her even smoke a cigarette.
The days of legal trade in slaves are history, following its abolition in the 1800s.
They tie you like this. That's when I started getting past.
Everybody has a story, but yours will only become our story when you share it.
Kampala has been voted in the past as one of the favorite cities for tourists, one of the most peaceful cities. That is something that is changing.
Kale Kaihura, the Inspector General of Police, and President Yoweri Museveni, their alliance, they can only crack down or stop individual strikes and individual demonstrations, but I don't think they can stop the growth of militancy.
No holds barred.
Besigye and Lukwago have particular grievances against the government, some legitimate, some misguided. What should the police do? Of course, the police has to intervene, A, to protect the power of President Yoweri Museveni and the NRM from disruption by Besigye and Lukwago, but B, also, never forget this, to protect those ordinary people whose property gets destroyed.
I want to ask that many think that they've actually been frustrated.
Opposition parties in Africa do not tend to be constructed around policy differences. FDC lacks a glue to hold its coalition of different power-hungry individuals together.
Incisive.
You see, the NRM is more divided internally than the FDC. The advantage with the NRM is it has political power.
Analytical.
I think that one of the best organized political parties in Uganda is the PPP, the People's Progressive Party of Ugandan. This idea that everybody is telling around the world that Africans are poor and they cannot contribute to their own political and social emancipation is crap. In fact, I think that the opposition parties in Uganda have to win an election in an unfair and unleveled ground.
Newsnight with Andrew Mwenda.
Oluvannyuma lwa lutalo abaana bangi batwalibwa abekika era bulala basigadde
abamu bajja ne babakima
era twagenda mu Lukola eyo nakasongola mu Buluri twagenda mu Butale babalaaro okubuuza omwana oyo mumanyi
ntumukwate obutonde obwekonkome mukwate obutonde bwa Ebola mubuteeke mu nsigo omuzungu ayogedde parliament muyise bosi basajja omulembe guno gutuusemu n'abantu n'entondo kati waliwo n'emyaka egy'entondo
waliwo yakiŋŋamba
bamugamba muŋŋambe bulungi kati munkwate empola
dokita buli akwata bayibuli eno ajja kusomera bintu nga ye bw'alowooza. For example, waliwo controversy yaliwo
tobeera mu ssuuti ate n'oteeka mu gganduula
olina kubeerako kimu
kubanga okusomesezza tumaze emyaka 2 tusomesa bannayuganda eddembe lyammwe mulimanyi oluusi n'obusobozi obulina nakulabira abaganda baagala kabaka
Hey there, Mr. Krabs! Are you ready to party?
I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. You like to move it, move it.
Wow! Hello, fellow motor enthusiastics.
Oh, Mr. Krabs! Isn't there any way for us to return all of them back to normal?
Hey! How'd he do that? The Red Ranger's a bigger problem than I thought!
It's time to finish this thing up!
What can I do to make them love me again?
What are you drawing, Kitty?
Mega Rangers? That's a mega win!
Hello? King Julian, you are truly inspiring. Ow!
SpongeBob! Fantastic!
You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji and Brian Mulondo.
At about 10 minutes on to 8 o'clock, you're still watching Morning at NTV. We now cross over to Simon to tell us what's happening in Uganda through the big story. Good morning, Simon. What are you talking about today and whom do you have?
A very good morning once again, Mabel. And yes, this morning we are waking up to discussing matters of minimum wage. This debate has been raging on. This discussion has been going on since Labor Day 2014. It actually did start Labor Day 2013. And there is this talk of minimum wage. And of course, there are others who throw in the spanner in the works and say, we should be talking about a living wage. This morning, we have the privilege of having a very good old friend, Asha Wilson-Oweri, who is the Chairman General of the National Organization of Trade Unions of Uganda. We'll be discussing that and more when we return. Joining us for the big story, my name is Simon Kasiate, and yes, this is Morning at NTV. We're discussing matters of the minimum wage. Everyone that's watching us, perhaps you are in some form of employment or other, or if you are not, you are anticipating the day you get down to your first job and you're looking forward to having a bit of a minimum wage, not just being paid or even just exploited, used and abused. And this morning we are looking at the minimum wage. Of course, I as Simon have always argued that I don't see what a minimum wage has to serve when we can actually clamor for a living wage. And that means each one of us in our different strata will benefit, because then you earn what you survive on as an individual, depending on your whims and fancies and your tastes and preferences and your expenditures. But this morning, let's continue with the debate on minimum wage. Good morning, Mr. Chairman General, or is it President General?
Chairman General.
Chairman General. You know, President General is reserved for the Democratic Party.
No, during a minister time, the title is actually supposed to be the President of Workers. But during a minister time, of course, He wanted only to
one president.
To have one
Not
president.
even of the Rotary Club was allowed.
Exactly.
So Mr. Asha Wilson Owere is the Chairman General of the National Organization of Trade Unions of Uganda, and the issue is minimum wage. I'm just going to put it to you plainly without much hullabaloo. Why has Uganda failed to heed your call and institute a minimum wage?
I think there was just a problem of political will. The issue of minimum wage, that is basically the basic pay you can pay somebody as a starting pay. And it's normally a pay that is either regulated or fixed by law or negotiated by the union. Now, minimum wage is very, very important. It's not only important that it's actually a human rights issue. Because when you leave somebody, like in Uganda per se, Uganda is where we are not following systems. You find that people are left without, you want to regulate other areas, but in other areas you are saying no, 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 no. For example, minimum wage is very important and vital for the economy. First of all, Simon, because you are not going to operate without workers. So in that way, you need to create order at this level.
When we talk about minimum wage, you're talking about an abstract figure here. But Asha Wilson, you in the trade unions, what are you clamoring to be the minimum wage? For example, I, Simon, working here every morning, what should be my minimum wage?
So at that level, you are now clamoring for living wage, not minimum. I work with the civil aviation, like you work with the SM. These are the ordinary worker. But you know, you cannot sit back and look at the other workers who are not even, actually, they live, they can't even afford food, they can't even afford transport to go to work. You know that kind of...
The last time Uganda had a minimum wage, it was put at about 6,000 Ugandan shares.
That's around $2. $2. Now, where is it? In fact, the minimum wage was just abandoned on the way. Wage is a basic pay for an ordinary worker, who is supposed actually to ensure that you have something basic. What is it in Kenya? What is it in Tanzania? Now, some time back, that they put it at 58,000. Then I think after research and so on, the government rejected.
As being too high or being too low?
No, there was just no political. We are talking about sector by sector, because...
Yeah, but the sector that was earning 58.
Your neighbors there.
Yes.
How much would they have? And at areas, when you are talking about a farmer in other areas, you are talking about domestic workers. Now, those are the areas where...
How are you able to regulate and enforce a minimum wage on, say, a domestic worker? You, Wilson Asha, you could even be my very good friend and come home and we have a whiskey on my patio and you see my domestic workers up and down and all that. How would you ensure that I pay them a minimum wage? How would you enforce that?
In the developed countries, what is done, payment is done hourly. Let me say, if you are working for 4 hours, 1 hour, they say 1 hour, maybe $1.
But here in Uganda, domestic workers come, you feed them, you clothe them, you shelter them, and they live in there and pass, then you slave them. How are you going to ensure that you redeem them from that kind of traditional setting of a domestic worker is a live-in employee who you treat as part of family or otherwise, but they're in there and you pay them whatever you feel like?
You know, those were the challenges which were seen by some other political leaders who thought that minimum wage was basically for the domestic workers. But when you look around in all these organizations, especially the one which are just coming up, most of these organizations are exploiting workers.
Right over there.
Yes.
But Asha Wilson, you are the same guy who understands more than anyone, perhaps, the danger posed by the issue of unemployment. There are hundreds, perhaps thousands, even millions of qualified young and old people on the streets languishing, looking for jobs, and they can't find them. And guess what? When they find an opportunity for a job, I see many of them approaching me and say, Simon, if you can get me somewhere to attach myself, there in ESCOM, even if you don't pay me. So you can imagine, someone comes from this point of, just allow me be there, even if you don't pay me. How can such a guy be empowered well enough to clamor for a minimum wage?
You know, Simon, the efforts, you know, we are talking about strengthening labor administration in Uganda. Labor administration needs reorganizing. And I want you to listen to me. Because labor administration in Uganda has a problem in a way that it's not actually reorganized. You find that labor, look at the ministry now. Where is it? It is under Minister of Gender, where you have youths, you have almost everybody. People. Now, why don't you have public service and labor and social security together, like almost of the countries? You organize labor purely. And by the way, you know, Simon, sometimes some of you think by putting in minimum wage, people will lose jobs. That's not correct. Actually, by not reorganizing labor, that's why we have this confusion.
You know why we argue that perhaps putting a minimum wage, many people will lose their jobs? I've just given you an example of these young people who are looking for jobs, and you know, those who tell you I will work for nothing are there. Then there will be those who say, you pay me what you think you can pay me. Now, if you have such an offer from someone who is willing to work for whatever you can pay them, and then you have another cantankerous guy asking for a minimum wage, obviously you go for this subservient one, you use them for as long as you can use them, until they grow horns, you discard and get others. So labor has become a disposable item. How can we protect workers and Ugandans from being a disposable group to be used and abused in the left, right and center? Because
we have not taken labor issues seriously.
And where is the problem? You are the Chairman General of the National Organization of Trade Unions of Uganda. Can we say that you, Asha Wilson Owere, have incompetently failed to live up to your mandate? Because that's what you're supposed to be doing.
We have not failed. That's why we are driving the issue of minimum wage. Whether
but you're not powerful enough. The other day I had the president talk to you when we were I was in that crowd as you spoke in Lubari, in Ntungamo district, over the Lubari celebrations.
Yes.
I was in there. You made your points very clear. And the president said, we'll have this discussion on minimum wage. Have you taken it forward? It's been 2 months.
No, we have taken it very seriously. Let me give you the background. We have just been to International Labour Organization. This is the Parliament of World of Work, where we have workers, employers, and government. That is International Labour Organization. We sit in Geneva every year. And that's where we drive our conventions, which is rectified as laws in Uganda, in all other countries. Now, this time, after our discussion or our agitation for minimum wage, we filed a case at International Labour Council, where the panel of experts were there, and my Secretary General, Peter Werike, presented our case, where the Minister of Labour was present and was supposed to answer. Actually, that one is a serious issue now at international level.
So Uganda government has been reported to the Parliament of Labour as one of those obstinate countries that is not looking into the matter of the minimum wage.
Yeah, because
now, if I may ask you, Asha Wilson, you think government of Uganda is bothered even a little bit by that kind of report you made in Geneva? You think they will
bothered? Let me give you a scenario. Now Uganda is holding the post of the President of UN. Are you getting my point? That position, ILO, is one of the organizations within UN.
Yes.
So if Uganda does not obey what
ILO is
saying,
they will kick out Honorable Kutes. You think?
No, not only kicking him out, they can tell Uganda, no, you cannot sit here. And that is, first of all, an embarrassment. Secondly, there is now a will. Because before, the president used to say, no, I'm not listening. But you said you were there.
Yes.
And he said he's ready to meet us. We are also ready now to meet him.
When will you meet him?
We are meeting him soon. Don't worry, I can't give you the particular date. But the issue is, now there is political will.
And when you meet him, what is the level of optimism that you carry with you, Asha Wilson Owere? Do you think that meeting the president will now be the magic bullet that will sort out all these labor problems?
We have to dialogue. We have to dialogue. First of all, we have to listen to him, what he's saying. And because I know his views, and he has been giving his views out. And we also have a very strong view. We are saying minimum wage actually can create more jobs even. First of all,
supposing he doesn't see it the way you see it,
no,
and he remains adamant on his line.
First of all,
what is
I know our president. I know our president. First of all, he wants facts, he wants figures, and that's what we have.
He wants constructive engagement.
Exactly,
not demonstration.
And that's what we are in. We started this dialogue in Gulu, you remember, and I told him. In Tororo we disagreed. In Tungamu now we agree. So you see how we are moving. Because first of all, it's not just talking, but we must come out with the facts and
many
figures.
Ugandan employers don't seem to embrace the issue of unionizing or having their workers unionized, for possibly the fear of such ramifications that you as unions are always sowing the seeds of discontent and disgruntlement, and for the most part even rebellion.
Simon, let me tell you.
Let
me tell you today, and let me tell all the viewers outside there, that union is not for the employers. Union is actually formed by workers, financed by workers, administered by workers. It is your role and me to ensure that union is there, to entice other people into the union. I know the problem of...
but some employers don't allow their employees to...
It's against the law. It's against the law.
Actually, we have a wonderful laws here. We've got stacks and stacks of laws in our law books, but the implementation is nil. So how are we able to protect workers from this brazen abuse of the law by the employers?
I go back to what I told you, that we are now putting labor administration in order. For a long time, we told you there was no industrial court.
So now it is there?
Which is there now. We are just waiting for its implementation. We are pushing. The judges are already there. Actually, we have already even appointed those who are going to sit with the judges. Now, they are, as we talk now, they are preparing them, training them. For 20 years, you know, labor was just neglected. And in that being neglected, confusion comes in.
Ministry of Public Service, Labor and Social Security.
Simon, wait.
You talked about that.
People
when
like
do you think it will come in place?
People like you, the capitalist, think we have gone to sleep. But we are now even more organized than before.
Tell us.
Because first of all, you want to exploit us to the latter. But for us, we are now organized to ensure that, first of all, we have decent work. Two, you must recognize that we are partners. Whether if you bring money, I bring labor. We sit on a round table.
But
we discuss and agree.
Let's look at this. There is plenty of untapped labor roaming the streets. In fact, we have an oversupply of labor.
Yes.
What makes you think that those who are in demand of labor are going to listen to your demands very seriously when they are overwhelmed by the number of people offering labor that is almost free of any encumbrances?
In the last conference, we discussed a number of issues. First of all, we are talking about employment, creating jobs, protecting decent work. And the also issue of forced labor. There are so many issues that we discussed that many countries are supposed to adopt to. First of all...
But is it that's at a global level? You see, Asha, let's bring the debate home here. Right now, with this morning, I've got an interesting array of hotel waiters and waitresses who are working, serving guests breakfast, and they're watching this show, and they're listening very carefully.
Yes.
At least I know that many hotels around this country, their staff come to stand still to watch this program. And today, this subject touches at the very core of their hearts. They're talking about labor relations. Now, you know what kind of people, waiters and waitresses, or even hotel concierge and cleaning and housekeeping staff, and for that matter. These are people who are, for the most part, used and abused. They are at the bottom of the realm of, say, for example, the hospitality industry. What hope can they pick from your presence on this show right now as they watch you?
First of all, I want to assure them that we are now moving very steadily. What I want them to do, to embrace their organization, which is the union, which is supposed to fight for their rights.
Those who are not unionized, what do you tell them to do? How can they join their union?
They can join.
Without
because
being
once you
fired?
No, once you declare you have joined the union, your employer has no right whatsoever to stop you. It's against the law. It's against the
But
constitution.
these are powerless people who cannot take on the employers.
That one we are now handling.
How?
We are now handling. If you
What is their point of recourse? Kasiata, I'm a waiter in a small hotel owned by the big man Asha Wilson Owere in Tororo, for that matter. I've joined the union. Asha doesn't want me to, and I suspect he's going to fire me. Where can I run to for help?
You have your union at workplace, and union which are operating in hotel. There is hotels union, which is actually take care of hotels. You know, we have 20 unions.
What about the maids? My maid at home watching this show.
Even
your
the maids,
maid,
actually, now
everyone's maid, and I'm sure there are many maids there who are watching this show and they are suffering under the yoke of abuse and use by their employers. What is their point of recourse as far as trade unions is concerned?
The maids have a union, which is also there.
You'll pardon my ignorance, but I've never heard of a maids union.
No, it's there. It's not for the maids, but it's a
domestic
workers union, which is under NOTO also.
But we keep our maids. My maid, for example, is under lock and key 24/7 under the guard of my huge home. Yours, the same story. I mean, they are watching us from the confines of a huge sitting room, but they cannot get out of the gate. How can they be able to access these unions? What have these unions done to perforate themselves and get away from the high pedestal where they stand in big offices in Ntinda and other places to come down to the ordinary person who they should be serving?
No, the unions are at workplaces.
Yeah, but at my home there is one maid and they cannot allow a union in there. And that is the story of almost every maid I know. So how can they be emancipated?
Simon, you are making a mistake. And you know now you are here.
Yes.
You don't know even what is happening in your home. But the way we have penetrated even homes is now amazing. Because first of all, when you give us this opportunity, they come to know. Now, we have also used other methods of recruiting workers. Okay, we know that most of them...
You become recruiting agencies.
Most of the workers are being suppressed, they are being terrorized by employers. But what is happening now? We are trying our level best to move to that direction. The only challenge is that the ministry, which is supposed to help us in determining and the labor inspection, is still weak. But we are trying to make it really come to
very final one. When do you think that ministry will be revamped? Maybe join the Ministry of Public Service, Labor and Social Welfare?
In our last meeting, when we had a meeting with the minister and the Director General of International Labour Organization, the question was put to the minister, that is Honorable Rukutana, by the Director General. He said, since the other year, the workers have been demanding for a standalone ministry. What is happening?
What did he say?
So he said they are working on it. But it is our honors to push for it. As we push for minimum...
where you've got an amount of faith and optimism that I have not seen in recent times. If someone says they are working on it, they can as well say the same thing for 20 years,
of course,
100
of course.
years.
But it's our duty
to keep pushing.
To keep pushing until we get there.
Well, there we've had him, the Chairman General, National Organization of Trade Unions of Uganda. Let's take a short break. When we return, it's Simon Says on the matter of the minimum wage. Let you go. Well, there we have had the discussion on the minimum wage, and many of you who've been watching, I want to believe, are involved in some form of employment or are hoping to get to yourself your next job. The minimum wage issue is a very difficult one to decipher, almost to the very bottom. In fact, for me, when I talk about the minimum wage, I'm looking at a living wage, the kind of amount of money that I should be under as a very bare minimum, where I'm able to enjoy life's little basic amenities, food, shelter, some transport here, and a bit of money that I can save, and also some bit of money I can spend on little life's luxuries that keep my spirit high, to be able to get the buoyancy to do my very best when I got my job the next day. Now, are you getting that amount of money from your employer? Some time back I did argue that when I look at my expenditure at the end of the month, it's certainly not equal to my income. And I'm talking about an expenditure being higher than the income. One wonders, where does this excess come from? Are we living from hand to mouth? Are we digging a hole to cover another hole? What will be the event or turn of issues when the minimum wage does come to play? Does it concern you and I? Does it concern other people? Does it concern people in a lower strata of society? All these are questions that are asked, and we don't seem to get the right answers or the convincing answers, but the debate goes on, and that's why indeed we had the privilege of hosting Asha Wilson Owere. This is not his first time, neither is it going to be his last time. We'll keep telling you matters of this issue until perhaps one day the workforce of this country receives and earns its duly owed redemption. Have a good morning and keep it productive. Never mind the fact that you are not paid to what your satisfaction is. And for those of you who are willing to give your labor for free, I can tell you something. There is not such a thing as a free lunch. Likewise, there shouldn't be such a thing as you giving your labor for free. It doesn't matter how long you will stay on the stool, or katebe for that matter, but one day you will get a job that will value your efforts, will value your industriousness, and will pay you right for it. Let's keep hope alive and have a good morning.
You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji, and Brian Mulondo.
You can bring everybody in parliament as long as they can wake up and vote for the NRM.
As long as the voters exercise their rights to elect their leaders, there was no need for term limits in Uganda.
I know him. I know how he operates. I know how he thinks.
There are ways you can go around these obstacles.
Why should I conduct myself as if I am a Muyai?
It's absolutely true. I admired the President Museveni.
Is the ICC a first code targeting African leaders?
You cannot tell me that the whole trouble Kenya had revolved about only the two individuals.
The money is not in the budget of this financial year.
You can't beat God. You see, God is polygamous also. Look at Jeremiah chapter 31.
The security of this country will largely depend on the contribution that the people make.
Are you and I ever gonna have a chance to be sisters?
You want the baby to have my name?
Would that be okay?
So I'm happy you came. Yes, especially since I thought you were shunning all things Newman. I have my own reasons for showing up.
What did you say about him?
I'm sorry, attempted rape.
Okay, look, whatever you think you know about him, you don't know his heart.
If there is a way to make me feel more miserable, you will instinctively find it.
You gave up the one woman you loved, and now you're having a hard time figuring out how to move on?
I can't imagine who would want to hurt a good man like you.
Okay, you know what? I don't need you telling me how to feel about Lily.
Are you pregnant? No. Then why are you trying to alienate Tyler?
Has something happened between the two of you? Are you afraid that I'm gonna do something to ruin your marriage, or that you will?
Why don't we have a party? I'll bring Nikki and bring your siblings. How's that?
Now, what are you gonna do? You gonna blackmail them this time, or are you gonna bribe them?
Looks like Mommy's not the only one who knows how to make up a story.
Mr. Krabs, are you ready to party?
I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. You like to move it, move it.
Wow! Hello, fellow motor enthusiastics.
Mr. Krabs, isn't there any way for us to return all of them back to normal?
Hey! How'd he do that? The Red Ranger's a bigger problem than I thought!
It's time to finish this thing up!
What can I do to make them love me again?
What are you drawing, Kitty?
Mega Rangers? Yeah. That's a mega win!
Hello? King Julian, you are truly inspiring.
Ow! SpongeBob! Fantastic!
I'm going to blow your mind and I'm going to twist your taste buds. The flavors are already coming together. I can feel them. Very lovely, very appetizing, very healthy. Remember, the way you see it, the way you like it, is the way you get it from my kitchen to your kitchen.
You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji, and Brian Molondo.
At NTV this 17th day of June. Today we say happy birthday to Venus Williams. She was born in 1980 and turns 34 today, growing up in a tough neighborhood in Los Angeles. She has made it, and her name indeed will go down in history as probably one of those greats. Obviously, her sister Serena has overshadowed her in the last couple of years, but Venus is still there and is hoping to make a comeback later on. Remember, you can be part of the show. Do send an SMS to 6565, or you can follow us on Twitter at Morning at NTV individually, at Mebkeb, at MB Gold, at Dakabachigongo, at S Kasiate, and at Joel Senyonyi. That is double S there with Joel Senyonyi. We'll cross over to Brian now to let us know your comments on Twitter as well as what's happening. What will he be talking about in everyday life? Hello, Brian.
Well, thank you so much, Mabel. We're still at the rooftop of the Kampala Serena Hotel. Now, yesterday was the day of the African child. And this morning, we're going to follow that discussion on the girl child herself, challenges and opportunities she can harness. And Irene Kitui from the Straight Talk Foundation is here to help us talk about it on everyday life. Good morning. Vayogwe. Well, this morning, yesterday was the day of the African child, and a lot was said, especially on the big story with Simon. But this morning, I'm going to follow that discussion with Irene Kitui from Straight Talk Foundation, who also deals a lot with issues concerning girls. Good morning, Irene.
Morning.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you too.
You have done, first tell us, well, I grew up reading Straight Talk. Tell us more about the work that you do there.
Straight Talk Foundation is more than just the newspaper. Straight Talk is an organization that started in 1993 as a paper, and then we were registered as an NGO. And the kind of work we do the newspaper that most people know, the Straight Talk paper that goes to secondary schools. We have Young Talk that goes to primary, upper primary. We also have Farm Talk, Tree Talk. We have gone into the environment. Now we have the mass media department that caters for the print that I've just mentioned and radio programs. I'm not sure whether you've heard of the Straight Talk radio show. As we speak now, it's on KFM every Sunday at 7:30. We go to the community, talk to young people, get their voices, and then come and air on the radio program. And we are one of the organizations that works with many languages in this country. We work with 12 languages. So we broadcast programs in 12 languages, which include Luo, Luganda, Lusoga, Ngakaramojong, Level 2, I'm not sure whether you know where it's found, Abim district, and we also do Pokot, which is found in Amdat district. Right. So those are some of the languages that we work with. And we also have a training and development department that goes out and trains in peer education. And we also want to look at a young person wholly. We want to look at their health, but at the same time empower them to be able to have an income generating activity, start up something for themselves. We have a belief we want to make a young person wholly, to have the good health, but also have the income. Because being healthy, we have realized when they don't have an income to take care of themselves, it puts them at the risk. So if a girl doesn't have an income generating activity that she can do to be able to buy for herself pads, she ends up getting a man who will be able to buy for her pads. So what does that put her at the risk of getting sexually transmitted infections and even HIV, and even ending up with unwanted pregnancy? So we want to look at this young person as a whole, the health and also the economic bit of it. Right. How can we help this person to? So that's a nutshell. We want to empower young people to live healthy, but also be able to do something for their own.
You've worked a lot with girls. What are the challenges mostly? Like the most highlighted challenges you're always addressing?
The biggest challenge that we have in this country is teenage pregnancy. And starting from last year, I remember the World Population Day looked at teenage pregnancy as an issue in Uganda and in Africa. 1 in every 4 girls is pregnant. In primary, in secondary. Wow. This is even happening in primary schools. So it's so disappointing.
Isn't that a very, very scary statistic? Isn't it even exaggerated? 1 in every 4 girls.
It's not exaggerated because it's happening. Last month I was in Alebtong district, and I met with these young people. We were coming up with, we have a youth participation program where young people air their own issues. They go to the talk show, and one of the topics these young people chose were, we want to talk about teenage pregnancy. And the reason I asked them, why do you want to talk about teenage pregnancy? And they said, you know, it's happening in our community. In one primary school in Alebtong, they had 5 girls pregnant last year. Primary, not secondary, it's primary. 5 girls pregnant, and they felt like that is the issue we want to talk about. Maybe it might not happen in your homes, but it's happening in our communities. It's
well, I remember for us in school, even one girl getting pregnant was like, they would call the school assembly and want to punish her in front of everyone. What has changed now?
I think your school, by then, that was the rule, but so many girls still keep getting pregnant, and I think we have neglected the girl child, and there are so many things that are putting them at risk. How many cases of defilement do you hear of in a day? So many. So some of those defilement cases end up into teenage pregnancy. Right. And I think, I don't know whether parents have failed to fulfill their roles. Sometimes even providing a pad for a girl child is hard. I've had situations of where in Kamuli where we work, a girl says, you know, parents tell us, yeah, we're known, they go and look for the things, I want to get away. Oh, could they? Get away. So the girl ends up and gets this gentleman who is willing to offer
a pad of 1,000 shillings.
Exactly. I think you've heard of stories. I've heard of stories where girls liked by border men because the guy gives her a ride to school and back. And what form of payment is she doing? Having sex with this gentleman. She goes to school and doesn't have break time, doesn't have anything to eat. The parents have not paid for the porridge at school for this girl to take. What happens? She's hungry, she's yawning, and then the friends comes and say, you know, I have this guy who can give you this. What does this girl end up doing? Ending up with that gentleman who will be able to give 1,000 shillings to buy kabalagala chapati. And what mode of payment does this girl have to do? Is having sex. And because this girl is not empowered enough, she will not wake up and tell this gentleman who has given her 5,000 shillings that please use the condom. Yeah. Her powers, her rights will be gone off. So what will happen? The gentleman will dictate. And when the gentleman dictates, of course, he will not use a condom. Yeah. And then we end up with a lot of teenage pregnancy. And I think it's everyone's responsibility. We are felt in our responsibilities to fulfill them as parents, talking to these children. You know, going through that teenage setting, these changes are happening. You're growing up from a young person to an adult. You have feelings and everything. We learn into them. Most young people learn into them without knowing anything at all.
Yeah.
We read stories at Straight Talk where somebody says, if I have sex while standing, will I get pregnant?
I still can't believe people ask such questions.
They do. Please come to Straight Talk and you see plenty of those. Yeah? If I have sex for the first time, will I get pregnant? Yeah? If I have sex with a virgin, she will not get pregnant. There are all those myths. And even the parents are not able to tell these children that those are myths. I always give this story. I met this family and they said, please talk to our girls. The time I talked to these girls, one girl was almost going to have sex. But when I talked to her, then she brought me aside and said, Irene, you know what? You've just saved me. A friend of mine told me I should have sex because it's some sweet, good pain. That was the description of it. And wow. If the parent has never talked to this girl about it, so she doesn't know. So the only person who is giving her that source of information is the friend. Yes. And this time the friend is giving her true information because the parent shy away to even talk to their children about sexuality, about changing body changes. The other thing is, how many parents out there tell their daughters that you're smart, you're beautiful, I love you? Very few.
Don't women tell that to their, well, for
it's
men
supposed to
be
be
hard.
No, it's supposed to. Why should it be hard? It's your daughter. Why should it be hard to tell your daughter you're smart? Or most of the time we criticize this girl when she's putting on badly. Now this girl goes, she's so dressed smartly, no one in the house has said you're smart, not the brother, not the sister. She walks out, reaches and finds this dude who says, wow, look at this princess. Who will become very important in that girl's life? The dude who has just praised her. But if this dude says, oh, you're smart, you look like a princess. When she was leaving home, the father said, oh, smart. The mother said, wow, I have a very beautiful daughter. Then the brother says, my God, my sister, you're smart. By the time this guy says you're smart, it's normal. It's not something new. But because no one is telling this girl, so when the dude wakes up and says, wow, look at this beautiful angel, she's like, oh, I am hot, I am hot. So the guy is more important than the parents. Right. So I think it's our responsibility to talk to these girls from home, from all the setting. All of us have a role to play. Right. Now the other annoying one or disappointing one is some teachers do man eateth where he worketh. So you find the teachers dating the girls in school. I'll give you marks. Please, somebody told me they are so still shocked that teachers still use this line of, please take for me books into
and girls fall for it.
But it's your teacher. But we have grown up to respect adult teachers.
Come on. You know, I kind of blame girls for that. If you know that this has happened to several girls and you still think that a teacher sending you to their house to take books is just going to stop there, aren't you putting yourself in harm's way?
How many girls are empowered to say no? How many? Kampala kids, maybe a government says, no, teacher, no, I can't take that, because they are empowered. I just want you to picture your village. That nice primary school in your village, do you think that girl is empowered enough to say no to the teacher?
Speaking of empowerment, organizations like you have been labeled as breeding rebels in the name of feminists, in the name of women emancipation, in the name of women empowerment. And so right now what is happening is girls and women are rebels in their homes or marriages or their workplace, and yet you are increasingly becoming competitive also in the workplace. But somehow there's like a spirit of being rebels among them.
I wouldn't say we are empowering rebels. Straight Talk Foundation advocates for equal opportunity. We don't say the girl should be more, but we say give the children equal opportunity. When you're taking children to school, take them together, the boy and the girl. We are advocating for equal opportunity. Now, maybe rebels, you have made them rebels. You men, sometimes the way you treat the women, you make them rebels. But us, we are saying give this girl the equal opportunity, equal education. When you're taking the boy to school, take the girl as well. when you're taking these children to school, provide for them. Provide for pads for this girl to make sure that she remains at school. There was research that was done in Busoga by Plan, and the findings show that girls are dropping out of school because of menstruation. The girl goes into menstruation, she doesn't have the pads to use, and when she's menstruating in primary, if she soils her clothes, that is the song for the whole day.
I up to now I still can't forget an experience in S2 where a girl
soiled herself.
And when the boys saw it, it was out of the ordinary. I grew up with women, so I kind of knew what was going on. But the other boys, it looked like, oh, this is a tourist attraction. And she didn't come back to school for the whole week.
Exactly. Do you think the experience she went through was nice? It wasn't good enough. It was that bad. She didn't intend to soil herself. But because of such, the boys have been taught to, you are lucky you grew up with your sisters and you saw that. But even some, at home, I've tried to teach my children, and I try to tell everyone that please send the boys to know about the pads. I intentionally sometimes send boys to buy me pads, my brothers, because I want them to know it's natural. The lady has to go through her menstruation period. It's not something out of the ordinary. So that girl spent 1 week. Others drop out of school completely because they don't feel strong enough to come back to the school and look at this guy who laughed at her, look at this girl who laughed at her, look at everyone who laughed at her. And how will I be able to look at them again? So that's one of the things that is making girls drop out of school, and some of them end up with teenage pregnancy.
What other opportunities, as we close, can girls now harness, looking to the future? Because obviously, amidst all these challenges of pads, I once met a group of women making pads, and they had called them marker pads. They're hoping to sell them, I think, at 500 shillings. But now, where is the space for women to become more competitive? Do away with the affirmative action where they can earn their place?
I think it's just an area of giving children an equal opportunity. If you bring up your children feeling they're equal, they can compete together, they can study together, equal opportunity at all levels. I have known where girls go and apply for a job. It was an IT job, and this lady was not given the job. And you know what the comment was? If we are shifting and we have to carry the computers, this lady will not carry the computers. So they gave the counterpart, who was number 2, the job because he's a man. So my request is, can we have equal opportunities given to both girls and boys? If we harness the equal opportunities from home, I think you've had naturally where parents say, that's a girl. The boy should do this other.
The girl will be fine.
The girl will be fine. To that the sukari. I think if we change those settings and just say a child is a child, let's give them equal opportunity, equal education, equal. If I'm giving my son land to develop, can I give my daughter the same? If I'm starting up a business for my son, can I start for my daughter? You find parents, they have a son and a daughter, but when they have a company and they're registering it, it's the son's name that appears. So what happens to the daughter? And we come and they say, oh, my daughter will get married.
Irene, pleasure to see you here. Thank you so much for coming. We'll definitely follow up on the conversation. Please feel free to get onto our platforms, Morning at NTV on Twitter, and Facebook, Morning at NTV, and of course SMS through 6565. You can also contact Straight Talk Foundation at Straight Talk Foundation, and Irene is at Kitui. That's Kituyii. Isma, what a disastrous thumping of Portugal. Did we expect this at all last night?
First of all, these two teams don't belong in the same class. Germany are 4-time world champions. The best Portugal have had is 2 semi-final appearances since the World Cup started in 1930. So for me, not a big surprise. But to tell you about why Thomas Muller is a king of the World Cup. The number of goals per the matches he's played at the World Cup is just amazing. Then the African teams, one drew, the other lost. That's how bad the day was for them. And Michael Schumacher is out of coma. Something to celebrate this morning.
Well, it's about 9:45, actually 15 on to 9 o'clock, still at the rooftop of the Kampala Serena Hotel. We'll be back with the sports update. Good morning.
You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji, and Brian Mulondo.
Oda, I no go stop to the singing. No problem. Keep singing. This singing will put you in trouble very soon.
You won't believe it's the boy's father that inflicted such injury on him just because he stole 50 naira. 50 naira for that matter. That man should be arrested. Oh, how God. How I wish I could just see that man and give him a piece of mind. Abigail, I don't care if you're chatting with Barack Obama. When you're at work, you learn how to detach yourself from that phone else to get you into trouble. Whatever. I mean, you should be happy that a pilot is asking your friend out.
My brother, I learned that 3 armed robbers tried to rob a man as he came out of the bank at the junction before the express. Don't try to be the hero.
You won't kill me. Do you know how long I've been waking you up quietly and you refuse to wake?
Now you can't interrupt someone. I like to pray with you, nurses, being the vessels that the Almighty God has been using to heal his people.
Okay. Can someone please talk to me? What is going on?
Who is she?
See, I hate cheating in my life. I hate cheating and nothing will make me have 50 kobo to that money I already get you.
Follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat.
Follow the beat.
Follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat.
Follow the beat.
Follow the beat, follow the beat.
Follow the beat.
Follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat.
Follow the beat.
Health and wellness
is brought to you by Caring Tech Strength, Panadol Advance. When minutes matter, take Panadol Advance. Panadol Advance is a fast pain reliever with Optizop technology. Caring Tech Strength, Panadol Advance.
Mikwano gyaffe bana NTV ate naddala mu bannaamu muli gw'emizannyo. Muli gw'ebyemizannyo gukomyewo 2:14 ate mutya. Kati ate gukyusiza n'obudde. Gwa 7 gwali gwa 9 ne gugoberera ntusanyuka kati gubongereddeko wano malya g'ebyemisana awo. Busoko kubatayize kubaletire kintu kyonna kalonda eno byemizannyo. Muli gw'ebyemizannyo mupya 2:14 Isima waali alagira Argentina yenjo mukubira eddiba lye omukwano gujja kukomawo ku muli gw'emizannyo naye kasita kinatuuka eri bano ba Messi okulumba abalenzi baffe ba Thiago Silva awo tewali mukwano omuli gw'ebyemizannyo 2:14 President.
Thank you so much for staying with us up to this time. We are still here, and it's a World Cup season, and while some of us are supporting the right countries, others are still the wrong. Good morning, Isma.
Good morning.
Mabel, how are you?
Brian, I don't know why you are laughing so much. You said Portugal is in the same league with England. Can you imagine? That's what he said earlier.
But Portugal can beat you guys.
Brian is just laughing at everyone.
Portugal can do what was done to us. Isma, good morning.
Good morning.
Let's get straight to that game. What happened?
First of all, I'm one of those who is a bit conservative and believe in tradition. Portugal and Germany don't belong to the same class. We've got to be very honest.
Okay, does Portugal belong to the same class as England?
Probably because England have won a World Cup, but by the way England have been playing in recent years, they aren't too far away from Portugal. They are all underachievers.
1966. With George Best.
Let's move
Actually, in 1966, when they won the World Cup, Atletico Madrid won the league, Real Madrid won the Champions League. So, could that happen in 2014? Maybe not. But in South Africa, brilliant performance there from the Germans. I always thought that Portugal were only a bit of madness from the Portuguese, because I don't know what Pepe was thinking. I don't know what Pepe was thinking. Probably has explained to someone out there, because he hasn't done a press conference since. He headbutted Muller, who already had an elbow on him. It's crazy sometimes what Pepe does on the pitch. Now he's sent off. He won't play again, and unless Portugal make it to the give it to them.
So
they normally compete, they normally do well in tournaments. So
Portugal loses and Ronaldo is not blamed. Argentina loses and Messi is blamed.
That's the nature, and I think this has been brought upon us by they love those comparisons. I love my sport in a universal element, and I actually think Messi and Ronaldo are mortals. I've seen some immortal sportsmen. Muhammad Ali is such a immortal.
You're just obsessed with Maradona.
Well, moving on to the first goalless draw, we had Iran and Nigeria play yesterday. It was a goalless draw. Was there anything to write home about?
No wonder the fans in Coritiba eventually bought the teams, especially for a large part of the second half, because they don't look like they're at the World Cup. In the World Cup, that has been averaging 3 goals per game. Look at it this way. The earlier game had 4 goals scored by the Germans. And at that point, we had got to 39 goals in 12 games. Then here come Iran and Nigeria.
Were they playing it safe, do you think?
I think they were. The Iranians were smart because they knew this is their best chance of getting a point. So they played a little bit more defense than the Nigerians. Then the Nigerians had no clues when they got to the final third. Very, very disappointing game eventually. And Stephen Kesh was saying as much. He said the Nigerians, the coach of the Nigerians said they were trying to play like horses who wanted to finish a game in 2 minutes. Horses are very quick with their food, even when they run. Now, they didn't have that kind of patience, the Nigerians. That's the reason they don't have a point from this. But a very disappointing game.
You know, yesterday when I was watching this game, and my wife asked me, does Nigeria have any international players? And I was like, of course. There's Victor Moses, there's
John Obi
Mikel, there's
Vincent Nyama, who was the best goalkeeper in Europe, kept 21 clean sheets.
And then I understood why she was asking me that. Because I can compare the kind of game they had. Like you are watching Ebikabi Abaganda. How, like, I've never played soccer at a professional level. But these guys didn't have any class at all.
Yeah, and it's been a problem for Nigerian teams in recent years. Ever since they had the generation of the Victor Ikepeba, the Nwanko Kanu, JJ Okocha, Daniel Amokachi, Sando Lise, they started to produce that caliber of players. This team has only 3 players who are playing at home. I think 2 of them come from Enugu Rangers and the other one from Sunshine Stars. But then they don't have that class. And the most disappointing thing about Nigeria in the last 10 years is that their game is too slow. It's too slow. You watch and you're very sure when this one has the ball, he'll pass to that one. Too
predictable.
It's too predictable. That's something that has been lacking from the Nigerian team for some time. But while I say that, remember they won the Africa Cup last year. And Stephen Kesh was also their captain in their last one in 1994. And he had brought a bit of guile, but it's all gone. Whatever has happened to them ever since they played in the Confederations Cup last. And I thought, having been to Brazil before, because they were there for the Confederations Cup last year, was going to help them come here and compete. Now, yesterday, they could write it off as a bad date and then look forward to the next game against Bosnia and Herzegovina.
See 3 defenders, but you still decide to ram into them. Even I can't understand what that is about.
Well, something that's very interesting, America winning, beating Ghana, and the Americans saying, actually, they didn't deserve to win. But tell me about the new guys. They're calling them heroes. Guys like, what are their names? Dempsey, and I can't remember the other ones.
Dempsey is a new hero.
Yeah.
Dempsey has been playing since...
But they were calling him a hero, and some other guy, I can't remember.
The other one was John Brooks. And
John Brooks.
And Clint Dempsey got the first goal there, the 5th fastest goal in the history of the World Cup on 31 seconds. For the Americans, they took the lead. The Ghanaians responded in quite the fashion you'd want to. Eventually got the equalizer through Andre Ayew, but then thereafter, they didn't have the same. After getting the equalizer, they seemed like they had done enough of the game. And then John Brooks got that winner for the Americans. And I'm a big advocate for the law of averages, which is not logical at all. It's not about tactics or anything. I've always thought that if one team is called Brian and the other is Mabel, if Brian won on so many occasions, at some point Mabel will win. Now, in the last 2 editions of the World Cup, the Americans have been knocked out of the World Cup by Ghana, 2006 and 2010. It was time for the Americans to get their revenge. For me, there is no logic in that. There is no tactics in it. It's just that the law of averages, Ghana had won, America had to win.
Wow.
Even if they're not the better team.
They don't have to be the better team. That's why
you're not answering the question.
Yeah.
You're dodging it. But were the Americans the weaker team?
Yeah,
less possession?
I think people underrate America, and this is a very, very wrong perception. Because football, soccer, like they call it, is not their number one sport. That doesn't mean they're a bad team. If you watch them in the Confederations Cup 5 years ago, they beat Spain. They beat Spain. How many teams have the luxury of beating Spain? They did. So
well, I know one team.
Okay, Netherlands. But then people underrate them because they know their first sport is American football, then basketball, then baseball. Yeah. But the Americans are a very fit team. First of all, they thrive on fitness. They can play and pass the ball. There are so many things they could do. And now they have a German coach in Jürgen Klinsmann. Yeah. I remember in the years when Bob Bradley was in charge, they're very solid team defense. So they would never lose a game by more than a goal to nil. Wow. And they consider, you've got to give it to them that while football is probably 7th rate sport in their country, they get to the World Cup year after year after year after year. Yeah,
but it's also because they're like Europe. There are few countries in North America.
Exactly.
And I mean, if you're playing
the
against
best team in Europe,
Guatemala, which countries are
But some of those countries like Panama, like Mexico, like Honduras have football as their number one sport. Now in America, it's probably 13th. There's American football, there's baseball, there's basketball, there's tennis, there's ice hockey. Then after you've done and you're running out of breath,
you come to soccer.
Soccer. That's how it goes.
Well, and I think they've done a good job in developing their own league. They're bringing stars to.
Beckham wants to buy a team there.
Yeah. But
good for them. Thierry Henry was there. You know, I think they've really invested in making sure that soccer becomes a more loved sport. Everyone's dark horse as Belgium is taking on. I'm using very bad words. Yeah.
Belgium. You can laugh at Belgium. That's okay.
It's taking on Algeria, who maybe thinks they are not African. But what are your predictions?
First of all, Belgium should listen to a story of the Colombians back in 1994. The Colombians came to the World Cup when they were everyone's dark horse because they had done very well in the qualifiers. They had beaten Argentina, they had beaten Brazil. When the World Cup came around, the Colombians didn't get out of the group stage. They couldn't actually even win a game. Now the Belgians come in with a lot of hype. Everyone thinks they are going to do well. They're in that kind of form because they did very well during qualifying. They have so many players in the top leagues. Eden Hazard, Jan Vertonghen. You've got to go on and on. Romelu Lukaku, Vincent Kompany. You could go on Thomas Vermaelen, the best goalkeeper in Europe probably last season, Thibaut Courtois at Atletico Madrid. But now Marc Wilmots has got to put this onto the pitch. Probably they start with a very easy fixture. Even if Algerians have done well, they're going to the World Cup on a 14-match unbeaten streak. The Belgians will be feeling very, very confident to get that result. They've come in with they've struggled with a bit of an injury to Romelu Lukaku in the days leading up to the World Cup, but he should be fit for the game. And if they do score first, I can bank on them to keep the ball, and then I'll start fearing for the Algerians. But that story of Colombia 1994 shouldn't be too far away from the Belgians when they walk onto the pitch.
I miss asking you, where has Shola Amiyobi been? I watched him when I was like 14.
Yeah.
And he's now making a debut for the World Cup.
For a long time, Amiyobi felt more English than Nigerian.
Yeah.
He tried to get to the English team, didn't get the chance to get to the English team. Eventually, decided to play for his native Nigeria. He played for Nigeria in the Africa Cup of Nations. Last season, he spent most of it either injured or not playing in the team because he wasn't selected by Alan Pardew. But eventually, because of the lack of, I think, talent up front for the Nigerians, Stephen Keshi decided to recall him to the team. And that's the reason why he's playing. But way past his better days. In Tyneside, for Newcastle, they do love him because he's won so many Tyne-Wear derbies between Newcastle and Sunderland. I think he's won 4 of them, scoring the winner in those. So that's the reason why they do like him in Tyne and Wear.
I was shocked to see him on the pitch. This guy should be retired.
He's only 32.
Only? Yeah. In Chelsea, he would not be a striker.
Well, Brazil have the opportunity to advance today
Yes, they do. All they need to do is to beat up on Mexico. This is a repeat of the 2012 Olympic final, which the Mexicans won, and Brazil were very disappointed in that. Somehow, for all Brazil do well, and these are 5-time world champions we're talking about, they tend not to play well against Mexico. History suggests that even in the Copa America, Mexico know how to challenge Brazil when these games come around. But for everything now, I have the feeling that Brazil will be more comfortable. The first game jitters are gone. I was watching an interview of Messi yesterday, and he said he was so nervous in the first game for Argentina. And I felt even the Brazilians, the opening game, when they went down by a goal to Croatia in the opening day last Thursday, they were a bit nervous at the start. Now the nerves should be gone, and they should be feeling more confident and more comfortable to play their natural game. And that should be a big worry for the Mexicans, who don't score goals. They won their first game against Cameroon by a 1-0, but they'll be definite underdogs against the Brazilians here. If they get the 3 points, Brazil are into the round of 16. Easy job.
Are Cameroonians playing today?
No, they do play tomorrow. They will lose to Croatia.
Isma. They will lose. Well, they're probably out already.
Another doctor here.
Yeah, a quick update on the US Open. Martin Kaymer, how far ahead of the competition is he?
Winning this by 8 strokes, that's quite a margin. Probably the biggest margin since Rory McIlroy won a few years ago back in 2011, when he won this by when he won the US Open by a whooping 11 strokes. Martin Kaymer, for me, I thought what the disappointment for those who want tight finishes in every tournament, he had won this on Friday. He went on a birdie foray on the back 9, had 4 birdies in the last 9 holes, and that was it. Even if after that he didn't play very well in the 3rd round, in the 4th he went and played the best round, and there wasn't anyone pushing him because Ricky Fowler was playing well, had only 3 under. Then you had Eric Compton also on the final day, didn't do that well because he was the only player who played under par in the 4th round. And eventually Martin Kaymer just had to win this, his 2nd major title, and he should be very, very satisfied with his display. And I love the fact that he was wearing a pink t-shirt throughout the 4 days. So if pink is the color,
some people dissed me. See, I own 2 pink t-shirts, and I wore them one day. I was feeling proud, not proud to play for the other team, but I was feeling so proud that I'm definitely
if you're a sportsman, pink. You'll be extremely superstitious. I know Tiger Woods loves to wear his red shirt on day 4 of any major. He loves to wear that red because he thinks when he wears red, he has a chance of winning.
I know that any other color. Every time I wear a purple tie, I'm going to be lucky. So that's my other brand. But people made me drop my pink t-shirts. I'll probably bring it back. Isma will be here at 1:30 p.m. for Omumuli with Lumansi and Alan. Also, you can catch Sports Bar every Monday, 10:30 p.m. live from Club Silk. And of course, during our news updates, whether it's at 7 o'clock or 9 p.m., we'll be giving you updates and highlights of the games of the World Cup. So be sure to catch those during those times. But before we leave, our Africans are not doing well in Brazil, but here back at home, we serve you with the African proverb. This one comes from Christine Namugenyi, and it's a Chad proverb. A person with too much ambition cannot sleep in peace.
I was taught by one of my close friends and mentors. He's helped me a lot in this job, Joseph Cableta. I'm not only a fan but a friend. And he used to tell me about something that extremely ambitious people end up taking a wrong turn somewhere. Probably this adds to that when you go to bed and in the night you're thinking, I have to wake up tomorrow and achieve this within this timeline. But then it's also wrong. Such proverbs are also wrong. That on the other hand, they make people like Mabel and Brian become less ambitious because they're fearing and they want to sleep for 8 hours.
You know, I don't quite agree with you because I think big dreamers are big achievers. So if you have the ambition, you'll go out and actually do something. So when you say people will become less ambitious, anyway, it depends. In a way, it's a bit subjective.
But also we have a class of big dreamers and small starters.
What's the difference between dream and ambition? We can start there with the English.
Anyone can dream.
Yeah.
But very few have the ambition. Yeah. Anyone is a dreamer.
Who are you hinting at?
Okay, I'm not saying England is dreaming of the World Cup. Right. We'll be back tomorrow morning at 10. Our platforms are available: Twitter and Facebook and the SMS platform. I really can't. This will support us. No, you chose the wrong national team.
You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji and Brian Mulondo.
NTV, turning on your world.
She was molested when she was 6 by someone she trusted.
The doctors finally walked into the door. They basically were telling me that she had a 5% chance of living.
I couldn't understand how somebody that tells you they loved you, that held you as a child, could abuse you.
Tommy Scott grew up among gang violence, drugs, and poverty in the projects of South Central Los Angeles.
I felt not normal, not good. I wasn't lovable.
As a teen, Melissa discovered that drinking gave some relief.
Tommy is free today and continues to tell people that it was Jesus who changed his life.
The time I spent in prison, I spent putting my ideas together on, how I was going to come back and make it all right.
And I realized my purpose, that I was created to reflect the glory of God.
Duke now realizes why God kept him alive.
These were real people facing desperate situations, just like you and me.
Jesus died to set you free, and he can give you a new heart.
Hezekiah Walker and the Love Fellowship Choir are coming to Kampala June 27th. Also in concert, Exodus, Judith Babirier, and Romeo Adom, live at the New Liberty Worship Center International Lugala. Tickets are $150,000, $50,000, and $30,000. On sale at all Payway outlets and the Liberty Worship Center. Call 077-256-9708. Also join us at our special charity meet and greet dinner for cancer treatment, Thursday, June 26th at the Speak Resort. Tickets $200,000. That's June 27th. Hezekiah Walker.
On the next episode, brought to you by...
At Orange, we know you want to do more on the internet. That's why we bring you happy hour day and night.
On the next episode of Destiny River.
I know your mother is still a very young woman. I mean, she's young, and so, dear, do you think there's a possibility of her being interested in another man?
Of course, Dad. These things...
Destiny River.
You can download movies at the lowest prices and never fast from Orange. Dial *133# to buy a data bundle. Happy hour changes with Orange. Today changes with Orange.
The Almighty Lord, I come before you with a broken spirit. But in this song, allow me to get closer to you, know you better than before. Lord, I pray.
Every day I pray to be mighty, to give me a brighter day. I'll be telling good day. With the might I can be a bastard. When they good day, they answer Sunday. Yahweh, Yahweh, Every day I pray to the mighty to give me a brighter day. I be telling you, Nina, Nina, man, you one day, Mukama Muruji, I be telling you, every day I pray to the mighty to give me a brighter day. I be telling you. Kasaze kwengumide mkwekute manyitonera bide abalala ngabanjabulide manyiolidwe gwe musumba wange kangume kansubire kansabe kakugulumize aitata ulile sale yange. Anyway, abazadde kwabakumira emikwano noginondera lopano obuyimba gakamenya kankume kansubire kampukamire tatatukire kulunaku luno opamanyi nina nina manyi wande mukama mulungi alibiteri every day I pray to the mighty to give me a brighter day. I tell you, Nina, Nina, man, you one day, Mukama Muruji, I tell you, every day I pray to the mighty to give me a brighter day. I tell you. Magambe chikuwe chikuitani nze Magambe chimakuitani yabangu Ninesubi ibombelo kumbi Bamu wanguzi Never enemy baja mufyuzi Nabadui Mabali bulilui Baneseka Batimani Watatabiasi. Anyway, dear Lord, muene sana yange Mpukamite, kulajanite Yonevi kute, tatabite Mkulajanite Kulajanite Yaya nino nina 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 Mata wande Mukama mulu every day I pray to give me a brighter day. I tell you, Nina, Nina, man, you one day. Mukama Muruji, I tell you, every day I pray to the mighty to give me a brighter day. I tell you,
kimanye kiwafuna mununuzi wasinga
Turning on your world.
Sometimes children have amazing ideas, but they can lead to tough stains. And for tough stains, there's new Omo Fast Action. Its super fast cleaning technology removes stains fast. New Omo, no one removes tough stains faster.
What's that?
That document.
Oh, that. Just some business.
I came to apologize. I have no right to interfere in your lives.
I've eliminated the only evidence that links me to Ivan Chinawa's death.
But you didn't have to kill another person. It's not like I've got anything to hide, Nene. Just go ahead. Victoria, how is it like to work for Miles Vilagazi?
Blood seemed to matter not.
Blood?
Yeah, blood.
I'm responsible for your father's death.
Having broken the hunger story in Napak, we appeal to the general public to contribute towards the Feed Napak initiative. Kindly donate items like clothes, food, shoes and other items to support our vulnerable brothers and sisters in Napak District, Karamoja. Kindly bring your donated items to the Ugandan National Theatre from the 2nd to 30th June 2014 or send your mobile money contribution to Winnie Banage on MTN 0772 121986. For more information, call Diana on 0791 162357. We can do great things with great love.
On the next episode, brought to you by...
At Orange, we know you want to do more on the internet. That's why we bring you happy hour day and night.
La Patrona.
They took him away. Apparently he did have a heart attack.
Ricardo, please tell the doctors to spare no effort or money to save him.
What happened to Lucia?
The doctor wants to talk to us. It sounds like it isn't going to be good news. I can't face him.
What are you doing here?
Hello?
Constanza Goldstein. And who might you be?
Veronica Dante.
Hi. Those lands belong to Gabriella. It was for that reason that she was locked up in that house of horrors and hell.
Everyone here knows that I own El Chamuco. Are you calling me a thief?
La Patrona.